Chapter 1487. When Ing Zongtian saw Xiao Chen's complicated expression, he asked, "Is there anything strange about that place?" Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and said, "There is nothing strange about it. It is just that there are too many people watching it. Originally, I planned to go there after I became stronger." "What place?" Mo Chen could not help asking out of curiosity. "The Blue Dragon Palace." At the mention of the Blue Dragon Palace, Missouri Chen was still fine. However, Ing Zongtian's expression clearly changed. "We really have to think about this at length. We cannot advance rashly. Once the Blue Dragon Palace moves, it will attract a lot of trouble." Xiao Chen entered deep thought as he paced around. After a while he said, "No matter how we think about it at length, there are only two results: to go or not to go. This Blue Dragon Palace is part of my plan. I have to go there in the first place." Mo Chen's words further affirmed that I have to go to the Blue Dragon Palace. Although Ing Zongtian had some objections, it was not convenient for him to say anything. He said, "This is your own matter. Just think about it carefully. If you need my help, just say it." Xiao Chen thought for a while and said, "Actually, I've already been to this Blue Dragon Palace once. As long as I can enter it, there is nothing to worry about." This exceeded Ing Zongtian's expectations. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen had already been there once. However, at that time, I was too weak. I only took a quick glance and could not examine it in detail. Furthermore, I could not enter the second layer. There are many mysteries that remain unsolved. Xiao Chen said honestly, "The heavenly flame's origin flame is sealed in the first layer. It is sealed with the blood of a deity race sovereign martial emperor." Ing Zongtian understood. He entered deep thought and said, "No wonder. At that time, you were too weak. Naturally, you could not attract the attention of others. However, if you move now, you might attract the attention of the deity Dao Union." Xiao Chen looked into the distance and said softly, "That is not what I am most worried about. What I am worried about is whether I can obtain the recognition of the Blue Dragon Palace. If I can't, it will be hard to say." Although he possessed the Blue Dragon martial soul, and was a descendant of the Qing Emperor, the Blue Dragon didn't belong to him. In fact, the Blue Dragon Palace did not belong to the Qing Emperor Xiaotong. The Blue Dragon Palace was the inheritance palace of the Blue Dragon clan. His background was much greater than that of Bushan Palace. However, in front of the Blue Dragon Palace, he was just an interviewee. With his current strength, he could face a supreme being and enter safely. However, if he didn't obtain the inheritance after entering, he would lose the opportunity and never be able to find it again. Suddenly Mo Chen said, "Big brother Xiao, worrying about personal gains and losses is not like your style. Actually, you wanted to go long ago, didn't you? Worrying about personal gains and losses, that was right. No matter what, Xiao Chen's current situation was worrying about personal gains and losses." Mo Chen's judgment was very accurate. Xiao Chen had wanted to go long ago. However, he kept telling himself to wait until he was stronger. Xiao Chen kept dragging it out until now. Yet he still could not make up his mind. "Go, big brother Xiao. I believe in you. In this world, no matter how well prepared you are, there will always be things you miss out on. Just follow your heart and bravely take the risk once." Mo Chen drummed up her courage and said somewhat nervously. After she finished speaking, she feared that Xiao Chen would blame her. After all, what she meant was that Xiao Chen was somewhat timid. This was not good. Who knew? Xiao Chen just smiled, not showing any intention of blaming Mo Chen. He said softly, "Indeed, you understand me as well as before. Go back first. I'll discuss this with Big Brother Ing." Mo Chen smiled and said, "Hee. Big brother Xiao overpraises me. I'll go back first then." After Mo Chen left far away, Ing Zongtian asked, "What's wrong? You've already made up your mind?" Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Big brother, do you think I'm too crazy to go to the Blue Dragon Palace right now?" Ing Zongtian smiled and said, "Crazy? Indeed, it is best to make complete preparations for such things, looking ahead and behind, considering all sorts of possibilities, making sure nothing goes wrong. However, I feel that that girl is right. The world is hard to predict, the universe unfathomable. No matter how well prepared you are, there will always be things you miss out on. You might as well take the risk to your heart's content." When Xiaochen heard that, he laughed loudly and said, "Good. Big brother, will you go crazy with me this time?" "Gladly." After Emochen reminded him of something that he had not been able to make up his mind for many years, Xiaochen immediately made a decision. While it looked rash, in reality, it was not rash at all. It was passion and hot-bloodedness. Even though one held a high position, one could do something hot-blooded and crazy without hesitation. Outside Heavenly Star Island, Emperor Forsaken, who had been waiting for a long time, suddenly opened his eyes. Xiaochen is making his move. The heaven-punishing corpse god revealed an excited expression. This fellow is finally making his move. I thought that he would not go. Qitian, what should we do now? At the same time, the heaven-punishing corpse god had some doubts in his heart. How could Emperor Forsaken be so sure that Xiaochen had already gone out? Seemingly noticing the heaven-punishing corpse god's doubts, Emperor Forsaken said indifferently, "Back then, I left a weak mental energy mark in his body for the third palm strike. Given his strength, he will not be able to detect it." The heaven-punishing corpse god smiled and said, "Excellent. The deity sovereign truly lives up to his name. His preparations are so thorough." Emperor Forsaken's expression turned grave as he said, "Right now, the crucial thing is that we can get him to open the palace doors but absolutely cannot let him enter. That will be very difficult. The Fox King and Zongtian will definitely be helping from the side. It will be difficult to make a move." The heaven-punishing corpse god frowned slightly. Emperor Forsaken smiled coldly and said, "Don't worry. I made preparations long ago. When the time comes, I will invite the deity race ancestor to kill him the instant he opens the palace doors." The deity race ancestor? The heaven-punishing corpse god was startled when he heard that. The deity race ancestor was that strange existence that surpassed Prime? How ruthless. The heaven-abandoning deity sovereign really put everything on the line. "Let's go," Emperor Forsaken said indifferently. Then he quickly led the heaven-punishing corpse god away. Emperor Forsaken said indifferently. At the same time in the Yellow Springs Road, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor received the news. After making preparations with the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva, they rushed to the savage battlefield. In the heavenly starry ocean, Yiling quickly entered the secret room where the treasure master was. "Father, I received news that Xiaochen and Zongtian appeared at the Central Province's Bushin Palace's transportation formation at the same time. They are currently rushing to the savage battlefield," Yiling quickly reported, unable to contain the excitement in his heart. This was something that the treasure master had instructed Yiling long ago. As long as Xiaochen appeared at the Bushin Palace, he was to immediately inform Yiling. The treasure master nodded indifferently and said, "I got it. You may withdraw." "I got it." Yiling withdrew, feeling somewhat confused. He did not know why his father did not show any excitement over this matter. This was an opportunity that he had been waiting for a long time. After Yiling withdrew, the treasure master held the puppet pearl with a calm expression. No one knew what he was thinking. No one knew what the treasure master's plan was, much less what kind of storm he would stir up. While everyone schemed, Xiaochen and Zongtian waited for the master of the fiend domain, the Fox King, to arrive at the savage battlefield. "Haoyan, why did you look for me so urgently?" the Fox King asked, feeling somewhat suspicious, not knowing what Xiaochen had decided. Zongtian smiled and said, "It is not me who is looking for you. It is Xiaochen who has a request. He wants to enter the Blue Dragon Palace and wants us to protect him." The Fox King's expression changed. "You've decided?" Xiaochen nodded and said, "Big brothers, please help me one last time. I believe that my whereabouts are already exposed. The deity Dao Union should be rushing over soon." The Fox King's expression turned grave as he said, "Don't worry. I will do my best. As long as I can enter the palace, everything will be fine. No matter how powerful Emperor Forsaken is, he will not be able to do anything to me." Xiaochen was confident that as long as he could enter, the item spirit of the Blue Dragon Palace would be able to protect him. "Good. In that case, let's make good use of our time and try to enter the Blue Dragon Palace before the deity Dao Union." The three entered the savage battlefield, moving as fast as lightning, heading for the Blue Dragon Palace. For some reason, the savage battlefield was strangely quiet. The ferocious beasts there seemed to sense a strange atmosphere. The savage battlefield was very big. However, to primes this distance was nothing. In merely 15 minutes, the three arrived at the periphery of the Blue Dragon Palace. Then they saw the Azure Palace surrounded by 5 peaks. The 5 peaks each represented an attribute. They formed the 5-element absolute ceiling formation, trapping the Blue Dragon Palace and preventing primes from entering. One of them had been chopped in half. That had been chopped down by the Thunder Emperor back then. Xiaochun, you are finally here. I have been waiting for you for 1 year. Just at this moment, a figure suddenly walked out of that half-broken peak. As he stood at the edge, he smiled faintly at Xiaochun's group. Chapter 1488. This person had a sword on his back and was dressed in black. It was Chu Chaoyan, who had not shown himself for a long time. After Chu Chaoyan dealt with the matters of the Sky Dome realm, he had come here. It had indeed been almost a year. Who are you? Ying Zongtian and the Fox King did not recognize Chu Chaoyan. Their faces sank, and their killing chi enveloped Chu Chaoyan. Chu Chaoyan smiled faintly. He did not panic when facing the pressure of 2 primes. He said calmly, I am Chu Chaoyan. Like Xiaochun, I am from the Sky Dome realm. There is no need to be nervous. He has demonic chi on him. The Fox King whispered, not relaxing. Ying Zongtian frowned and said, Xiaochun, you know him? The 2 primes did not have any good impression of the people of the demonic world. Xiaochun was somewhat surprised. It was not because of Chu Chaoyan's appearance. He was just surprised that the other party was waiting here so casually. Xiaochun had thought of many possibilities, including how Chu Chaoyan would appear. Unexpectedly, Chu Chaoyan would appear in such a manner. This was truly unexpected. Facing Ying Zongtian's question, Xiaochun felt conflicted. He did not know how to answer. After thinking for a while, Xiaochun answered honestly, I do. He is the Tianwu Emperor's descendant. He should be waiting here for the Heavenly Flame's origin flame. In that case, he is an enemy. Compared to Xiaochun's hesitation, Ying Zongtian was incredibly decisive. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he waved his hand and ruthlessly smashed his palm at Chu Chaoyan. A large sun illuminated the surroundings. The might of the Haotian shook the surroundings. The sun that flew out of Xiaochun's palm arrived before Chu Chaoyan in the blink of an eye, trying to burn him to ashes and eliminate him as soon as possible. Xiao. A strand of golden light flew out of the sun. Following that, there was a loud sound. The blazing sun shattered into countless fireballs that scattered in all directions. Chu Chaoyan withdrew his hand and stood upright. He looked at Ying Zongtian and said, The Kunlun Realm's prime really has a bad temper. Even if those demon sovereigns of the demonic world saw me, they would not be so angry. How could it be so easy? The Fox King and Ying Zongtian were both shocked. Since when did the Devil Realm have such a character? Despite his young age, he was so powerful that he could easily block Ying Zongtian's palm strike. In the distance, Emperor Forsaken and the heaven-punishing corpse god, who had arrived long ago, hid in an extremely well-hidden place. When they saw this scene, they frowned slightly. Who is that kid? Emperor Forsaken was puzzled. There was no such person in the plan. Whoosh! A figure appeared behind them. It was the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. Emperor Forsaken collected his doubts and asked casually, Ghostly Monarch, did you come alone? The Ghost Monarch smiled calmly and said, Naturally. Didn't you instruct me not to bring anyone else to prevent Xiaochun from noticing? Of course, I will do as you said. Emperor Forsaken laughed coldly in his heart, but his face showed no trace of it. Very good. Later, the moment Xiaochun opens the door to the palace, you will be able to enter the palace. I'll leave the first person to you. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor cursed in his heart. This god emperor really wants to make use of me. Fortunately, his decision is exactly what I want. Without batting an eyelid, he said, Don't worry. I don't dare to say that I can kill Xiaochun. Stopping him from entering the Blue Dragon Temple is a sure thing. The heaven-punishing corpse god muttered to himself. It seemed like the ghostly emperor indeed had other intentions. However, he didn't know that the God Sovereign had already seen through everything about him. Who knows, the ghostly emperor might have some trump cards. I'll just take a look. I cannot completely trust anyone. I still have to act according to the situation and not be taken advantage of. The three giants of the deity Dao Union chatted cheerfully. However, they each had their own ulterior motives. On the other side, Chu Chaoyun, who had just received a palm strike from Ing Zongtian, saw that Ing Zongtian was about to make another move. He quickly said, "At this moment, don't attack me without distinguishing friend from foe. Be careful not to let others take advantage of you." "What do you mean?" the Fox King asked, feeling confused. Could there be others here? Chu Chaoyun raised his head and looked at the sky. Then he looked down and said, "The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Although I did not discover anyone else, I'm sure that there are at least 4 people hiding in the dark, watching our every move." After saying that, Chu Chaoyun's gaze fell on Xiaochun. These are just the people of the Kunlun realm. There might be people hiding in the demonic world as well. Xiaochun looked around. The surroundings were quiet. He sent out his spiritual sense, but did not discover anything within 5,000 kilometers. However, Xiaochun knew that if a prime wanted to hide, he would not be able to discover them. It was just like if Xiaochun wanted to hide, the other party would not be able to discover him. His spiritual sense was not reliable. However, the current situation forced Xiaochun to stand in the open. He did not know who was hiding in the dark. Ing Zongtian sent a voice projection. "This person makes some sense. This matter concerns the Blue Dragon Palace. The people of the deity Dao Union would not come with great fanfare. Perhaps they are already hiding nearby." Xiaochun looked at Chu Chaoyun and said, "What do you want? Just say it, Chu Chaoyun." Chu Chaoyun shrugged and smiled bitterly. "Brother Xiao, don't overthink. I'm just waiting for you to open the door." This 5-element absolute sealing formation sensed your bloodline and your current strength. It should be ineffective against you. Naturally, Xiaochun did not believe that his purpose was that simple. After explaining things to Ing Zongtian and the Fox King, he calmly walked to the edge of the formation. The 5-element absolute sealing formation could change time and space, making it very unpredictable. Even a prime could not enter. In the dark, many pairs of eyes stared at Xiaochun, waiting for him to take a step forward. Without hesitating for long, Xiaochun clenched his teeth and stepped in. Whoosh! Suddenly, the space in the formation turned dark, completely dark. Only the space under Xiaochun's feet remained bright, looking exceptionally eye-catching in this dark space. Indeed, he is fine. Although many people had expected this miraculous scene, they could not help crying out in their hearts when they saw it for themselves. Xiaochun calmed himself and walked forward step by step. Everywhere he passed, light shone down. He left behind a clear path in the dark space, heading for the palace doors. Inside the formation, Xiaochun found it hard to remain calm. As he looked at the palace doors, all sorts of emotions welled up in his heart. The instant he pushed open the doors, the 5-element absolute sealing formation should deactivate automatically. At that time, what would await him? Who knew how many people within 5,000 kilometers would be hiding in the dark, staring at him? The greatest possibility was that the instant he pushed open the doors, he would be blasted into bits before he could even take a step forward. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, Ing Zongtian and the Fox King soared into the air. One on the left and one on the right, they casually sandwiched Chu Chaoyun. Chu Chaoyun smiled calmly and said, "The two of you don't have to mind me so much. The instant I open the door, you will be busy enough." Seeing Xiaochun so calm, Ing Zongtian and the Fox King felt somewhat angry. However, they had to admit that what Xiaochun said was true. The two were not very confident that they could block the various attacks on Xiaochun the instant the doors opened. Before leaving, Ing Zongtian suggested to Xiaochun to invite the 3 primes of the heavenly starry ocean over as well. However, Xiaochun sensed that the heavenly starry ocean was not calm. If all the primes left, something bad would happen. Hence, he did not inform these people. 10 steps, 9 steps, 8 steps, 7 steps, 6 steps. Even though Xiaochun did not walk very fast, he still approached step by step. Finally, he was only 1 step away from the palace doors. All he needed to do was raise his hand and push open the palace doors. At this moment, the surroundings turned even quieter. Rumble. At this moment, countless ferocious beasts suddenly went berserk. They fled into the distance, kicking up a cloud of dust. Birds blotted out the sun and sky in the sky, scattering in all directions. Clearly, some people could no longer hold back their killing chi and released it. These sharp, ferocious beasts could no longer endure it. An instinctive fear drove them to leave this place. After the ferocious beasts left, the world turned even quieter. Even the wind stopped blowing. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many gazes fixed on Xiao Chen's raised right hand. It looked like he was about to push open the palace doors. Zongtian, who was staring at Xiao Chen, looked to the left, and his expression changed dramatically. Chu Chaoyan had disappeared. What's going on? The Fox King and Zongtian exchanged glances, feeling that something was wrong. Chapter 1489. At this crucial moment, Chu Chaoyan suddenly vanished. The reason was not hard to explain. As Xiao Chen approached the palace doors step by step, the two naturally focused on Xiao Chen. They could not help but overlook Chu Chaoyan. This was not the important point. The important point was where exactly did Chu Chaoyan go. Xiao Chen, who was preparing to push open the palace doors, was unaware of the situation behind him. His hand was already on the door. Xiao Chen, don't open the door. Chu Chaoyan is gone. Zongtian's warning made Xiao Chen's expression change, and his heart sink. It's too late. Suddenly, a voice rang out behind Xiao Chen. Chu Chaoyan executed the state of primal chaos, and stood on the five-element absolute ceiling formation in perfect condition. The flow of time and the changes in space did not seem to affect him. This was because he was primal chaos. No matter how much time passed, primal chaos would always be primal chaos. Before the world opened, there was only primal chaos. There was no time and no space. Chu Chaoyan comprehended the state of primal chaos. Although it was just a superficial understanding, it was sufficient for him to not fear the five-element absolute ceiling formation. Chu Chaoyan threw a palm strike and landed on Xiao Chen's shoulder. Just as he was about to withdraw his right hand, he was caught off guard. This force pushed the palace doors open. The ancient Blue Dragon Palace's doors appeared before everyone's eyes once again. A vast dragon might surged out. At this moment, the five-element absolute ceiling formation completely vanished. However, the force of Chu Chaoyan's palm strike did not injure Xiao Chen. Instead, it turned into a strong force. The instant the doors opened, Chu Chaoyan pushed Xiao Chen in. Xiao Chen turned his head and looked at Chu Chaoyan in confusion. He could not understand why the other party was helping him at this moment. Such a situation stunned Zongtian and the Fox King, not understanding what was going on. Naturally, the more depressed ones were the three giants of the deity Dao Union, especially Emperor Forsaken. He had calculated everything. He was just waiting for Xiao Chen to open the door and kill him. However, such a scene appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. Suddenly, another person appeared and pushed him in. However, no matter what, the ghostly monarch, who had been preparing for a long time, had no choice but to unleash his furious sword strike. He had gathered all the primordial energy in his body, and was waiting for the moment the door opened. If he didn't make a move, the backlash from his cultivation technique would be unbearable. Xiao. Almost at the same time that Xiao Chen entered the Blue Dragon Palace, a dim light flashed and descended from the sky, stabbing at Chu Chaoyan. That was the full-power sword strike of the ghostly emperor. His original target was Xiao Chen, but now, it was Chu Chaoyan instead. Dang. Chu Chaoyan drew his sword and held it horizontally, blocking the other party's thrust. A loud metallic sound rang out. Clearly, Chu Chaoyan's strength was inferior to the other party's. Blood leaked out of a corner of his lips as he retreated a few steps, forced out of the palace doors. After forcing back Chu Chaoyan with one sword strike, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor quickly flew towards the palace doors. Bang! An invisible barrier in the palace doors directly ejected the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. Chu Chaoyan smiled faintly, as if he had expected this. He wiped the blood off his lips and quickly left this place. When Emperor Forsaken saw this scene from afar, his face turned sullen. Indeed, it was as he had guessed. Once Xiaochen entered the hall, no one else would be able to enter. As long as they killed Xiaochen the instant he pushed open the palace doors, the Qing Emperor's bloodline would disappear from this world. The Blue Dragon Palace would be open to outsiders. Only then would the Azure Dragon Palace open to outsiders. Otherwise, everything would be useless. Damn it! Emperor Forsaken raged in his heart. He had calculated everything. As long as Xiaochen pushed open the palace doors, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor's sword strike would force Xiaochen away first. Then the celestial race's ancestor would appear and suppress Xiaochen with absolute strength. He would finish off Xiaochen with one strike, and the Qing Emperor's descendant would die. The Blue Dragon Palace would then be open to outsiders. However, he had missed out on such a person. At the crucial moment, the celestial race's ancestor would push Xiaochen away, and the celestial race's ancestor would appear. The most unexpected thing was that the celestial race's ancestor could actually move freely in the 5-element absolute ceiling formation, unaffected by the flow of time. The most unexpected thing was that the celestial race's ancestor could move freely in the 5-element absolute ceiling formation, unaffected by the flow of time. Qitian, what should we do? The heaven-punishing corpse god was anxious, but there was nothing he could do. He could only place his hopes on Emperor Forsaken. Gamble. A crazed look flashed in Emperor Forsaken's eyes. I place all my hopes on this Blue Dragon Palace. I absolutely cannot allow such an accident to happen. Emperor Forsaken's gaze swept around and landed on Yingzongtian and the Fox King. The crazed look in his eyes turned into overwhelming killing chi. What is he trying to do? The heaven-punishing corpse god's heart skipped a beat, intimidated by Emperor Forsaken's killing chi. Capture the Fox King and Yingzongtian. I want Xiaochen to obediently hand over all the secrets of the Blue Dragon Palace after he comes out. The heaven-punishing corpse god was stunned when he heard that. Capturing 2 primes was as difficult as ascending to heaven. It was true that the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign could defeat the 2 of them. However, capturing them alive was different from defeating them. Even if they could not win, they could still run. Furthermore, this was the Bushan Palace's territory. Is this appropriate? Humph. The Ghost Emperor is not as simple as you think. He will not be willing to fail just like this. Whoosh! Emperor Forsaken's figure flashed and landed in front of Yingzongtian and the Fox King. He hovered in the air and looked at the 2 with a cold expression. The Fox King smiled faintly. Qitian, you have calculated everything. You probably did not expect this to happen, right? However, Yingzongtian noticed something amiss. The heaven-punishing corpse god and the Dongyue Ghost Emperor appeared behind them, blocking their way. Emperor Forsaken, what are you trying to do? Yingzongtian asked coldly. I don't want to do anything. I just want to borrow the 2 of you. Surrender now, lest we end up harming our friendship. The heaven-abandoning deity sovereign said coldly. Yingzongtian said disdainfully. With just the 3 of you? Don't forget, this is the Bushan Palace's territory. Emperor Forsaken smiled. Don't worry. The experts of the Bushan Palace will be delayed by the 3 holy masters. You have no idea how much I have planned for this day. Kitagarbha Bodhisattva. What are you waiting for? Do you really want this old man to force you out personally? When the Dongyue Ghost Emperor heard this, his expression changed slightly. Could it be that Emperor Forsaken already knew that the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva was already rushing over? Amitba. You are truly worthy of being the strongest in the Kunlun realm. I thought no one would discover you. The Kitagarbha Bodhisattva said his Buddhist name and appeared. He surrounded the Fox King and Yingzongtian, blocking the last gap. At this moment, the expressions of Yingzongtian and the Fox King changed completely. For prime experts surrounded the 2 of them. Among them was the heaven-abandoning deity, whose strength far surpassed theirs, and the mysterious and unfathomable Kitagarbha Bodhisattva. God Emperor, the Ghost Emperor said, trying to explain himself. The heaven-abandoning deity waved his hand and said, Speak less nonsense and put in more effort. Only by capturing these 2 can we force the Blue Dragon Palaces, Xiaochen to submit obediently. Everything else is pointless. Yingzongtian stretched out his hand, and the martial god medallion appeared on his fingertip. It seemed like he was preparing to summon the clone that the Bushin Palace's founder left in the medallion. Emperor Forsaken smiled coldly and spread his hands. A crack opened in the sky. The strong aura of the deity race ancestor spread out from it, stifling everyone's breathing. When Zongtian saw this scene, he revealed an unresigned expression. He put away the martial god medallion and vanished. At least you are sensible. Emperor Forsaken waved his hand, and the crack closed. The deity race ancestor's aura vanished as well. I've already said it before. For this day, I have prepared much more than you. Just surrender and don't do anything pointless. Otherwise, don't blame me for being too ruthless. Zongtian's face sank. A resolve to cut off all means of retreat appeared in his heart. At worst, he would just die. He said coldly, "Old man Qitian, you want me to surrender? Let me tell you this. That's impossible." A startling battle could break out at any moment. Far away, Xiaochen saw the six primes fighting each other. Fearing that the commotion would affect them, Chu Chaoyan retreated another 5,000 kilometers. With a complicated expression, he took out a messaging token. After activating the messaging token, a black image appeared. Chu Chaoyan said, "It is as you expected. Emperor Forsaken has already gone crazy and is attacking Zongtian and the Fox King. How unfortunate. None of the primes of the heavenly starry ocean left. However, this is enough. After this, you no longer owe me anything. You can leave now." Right after Chu Chaoyan spoke, the mysterious image vanished, and the messaging token shattered into countless pieces. Chapter 1490. After Xiaochen entered the palace, he only took 2 steps. When he turned his head, he could no longer see the scenery outside the palace. The space inside the palace seemed to be a world of its own, isolated from the outside world. The first floor of the Blue Dragon Palace had not changed much. It was exactly the same as the last time he came. Although Xiaochen did not understand why Chu Chaoyan helped him avoid the most difficult step, since he was already here, he might as well take things as they came. However, since they were already here, they might as well take things as they came. Xiaochen quickly headed for the formation, sealing the Heavenly Flame's origin flame. The formation laid with the deity race Emperor Wu's blood remained the same. The Heavenly Flame's origin flame was still here. Xiaochen relaxed slightly. However, after a while, his expression suddenly changed drastically. The transparent crystal at the core of the formation was empty. The Heavenly Flame's origin flame, which was originally in it, had vanished. What's going on? Why is the Heavenly Flame's origin flame gone? Xiaochen, who had always been calm, could not help exclaiming in shock when he paled. Whoosh! An old man appeared silently in front. Xiaochen looked up and saw that it was the item soul of the Blue Dragon Palace. Xiaochen immediately asked, "Where's the Heavenly Flame's origin flame?" The black-clad old man smiled faintly and consoled Xiaochen. "Calm down first. Don't panic. I'll tell you in detail." "How can I calm down? My master is here specifically for the Heavenly Flame's origin flame," Ao Jiao said angrily as she leaped out of the lunar shadow saber. When the old man saw Ao Jiao, his eyes lit up. A gentle smile appeared on his face. "So it's you. Little girl, you have to thank me properly for today's opportunity. Don't be so fierce to this old man." "Humph. Who would thank you? You were very fierce to me the last time, sending me flying with one finger." Ao Jiao was someone who held a grudge. Even now, she still remembered what happened that day. By this time, Xiaochen had already calmed down. He stopped Ao Jiao and cupped his fists at the black-robed old man. "Junior was rash just now. I hope Senior won't mind. I just want to know where the Heavenly Fire origin has been taken." When the black-clad old man saw that Xiaochen had calmed down, he nodded slightly and said, "Don't worry. The Heavenly Flame's origin flame is still here. I just put it away." "Why?" "A year ago, someone barged into the Blue Dragon Hall, without fear of the 5-element absolute sealing array. When I pushed the door open an inch, I lost control of the Heavenly Flame, and almost flew out. It's him." After the black-clothed old man explained, Xiaochen immediately understood. Chu Chaoyan had actually done such a crazy thing a year ago. From the looks of it, Chu Chaoyun's desire for the origin of heavenly flame was far from being as calm as he appeared. Who? The black-clad old man asked, feeling confused. Xiaochen quickly told the old man about Chu Chaoyun's identity and origins. After the black-clad old man heard it, he revealed an expression of sudden understanding. So he is a descendant of the Tianwu Emperor. In that case, you have to be careful. 10,000 years is a cycle. Now that the agreement of 10,000 years is drawing near, don't lose to him. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes and asked, Old sir, may I ask what exactly does it mean by a cycle every 10,000 years? When the 7 thrones merged, Chu Chaoyun had said the same thing in the scene of the future. Xiaochen was very curious about what exactly it meant by a cycle every 10,000 years. Before the first generation Tianwu Emperor left the Kunlun realm, he left behind a divine item. Every 10,000 years, the divine item will appear. After refining the divine item, one can leave this abandoned land. When Xiaochen heard this, he was startled. The first generation Tianwu Emperor, was that incredible? The black-clad old man smiled and said, Of course. He was not a person of the Kunlun realm in the first place. He came from a great realm outside. 10,000 years ago, the divine item appeared in the Sky Dome realm. The final Tianwu Emperor was preparing to refine the divine item. In the end, the Qing Emperor found out. After that, the Qing Emperor could not resist the temptation and killed him? Xiaochen felt excited. He had heard many stories about these two. Rumor had it that they were good friends. In the end, the Qing Emperor fought a huge battle with them for some reason. After that, the final Tianwu Emperor lost and died. The black-clad old man smiled and said, How can that be possible? The Qing Emperor killed him because the final Tianwu Emperor was too ambitious. He wanted to refine the 3,000 lower realms and swallow up the Kunlun realm and the deep abyss demonic world. He wanted to use the divine item to absorb all the luck of the entire abandoned land before leaving. It turned out that there was such a secret. Xiaochen entered deep thought and asked, Why did he do that? Of course, it was to let his luck flourish. Even after leaving the abandoned land, he would be able to rise again and reach the peak. The black-clad old man said, The primes and martial emperors of this world are not worth mentioning in a true great world. They are nothing. Outside is an even vaster world with limitless possibilities. So that was the case. If the final Tianwu Emperor really managed to absorb all the luck of the abandoned land would really become a wasteland. The Qing Emperor was not as unbearable as the rumors made him out to be. Xiaochen said, Very well, let's get back to business. Give me the heavenly flame. I need it. It is very useful. The black-clad old man shook his head and said, I can't give it to you yet. You have not obtained the recognition of the Blue Dragon Palace yet. You cannot take anything away from here. Xiaochen revealed a bitter smile. It looked like he was thinking the same thing. He glanced around and looked at the entrance to the second floor. What do I have to do to obtain the recognition of the Blue Dragon Palace? The black-clad old man revealed an embarrassed expression and said, I'm not sure about that, either. That can't be. Aren't you the item soul of the Blue Dragon Palace? How come you don't know? Ao Jiao exclaimed in shock. The black-clad old man smiled bitterly and said, Truth be told, I used to be a servant of the Qing Emperor. After I died, the Qing Emperor took pity on me and merged my soul with his saber, becoming the item soul of his saber. Before the Qing Emperor left, he pleaded for mercy on my behalf, allowing me to attach myself to the Blue Dragon Palace. I am not the true core item soul of the Blue Dragon Palace. This Blue Dragon Palace is even more ancient than you imagine. It has many secrets. Back then, even the Qing Emperor did not manage to figure them out. The old man's words made Xiaochen's expression turn grave. After hearing the old man's words, he looked at the Blue Dragon Palace again. There was a strange feeling that made him doubtful. The black-clad old man whispered, Back then, your strength was too low. I didn't let you go to the second floor, because I didn't want you to be humiliated. The core item soul of the Blue Dragon Palace has a bad temper and is very strange. Little old man, can't I hear you if you keep your voice down? Since he has the bloodline of the Blue Dragon, I will naturally follow the rules. Whether he can succeed or not depends on his ability. Why should I humiliate him? Suddenly, a resonant and deep voice resounded in the vast azure dragon palace. The tone of the voice was very high, and it contained a strong might. Xiaochen felt his eardrums buzzing and a little pain. The blue dragon martial soul in his body was trembling non-stop. The black-clad old man smiled bitterly and said, "Let's go. I will take you to the second floor to meet Brother Long. That is the true inheritance of the Blue Dragon Palace." Xiaochen nodded and followed the black-clad old man to the second floor with Ao Jiao. "Senior, let me ask you something. Back then, after the Qing Emperor returned to the Kunlun realm, who dealt him the fatal blow, forcing him to flee to the Yellow Springs Hell?" The black-clad old man trembled when he heard this. He paused for a moment before saying, "How many years has it been? There is no need to look into it so clearly. Even the Qing Emperor forgave that person. Why are you so conflicted?" After saying that, the black-clad old man fell silent. Clearly, he was not willing to mention that past. "It looks like there is more to this than meets the eye," Xiaochen analyzed in his heart. "However, this is not the time to pursue this. I have to obtain the acknowledgement of the Blue Dragon Palace first. I still don't know what happened to Big Brother Ing and the Fox King outside. I have to quickly obtain the inheritance of the Blue Dragon Palace." Xiaochen had a bad feeling about this, but he could not pinpoint it. Back then, he rejected Ing Zongtian's suggestion to not let the primes of the heavenly starry ocean follow him. Xiaochen relied on this premonition. As he thought this, he unknowingly passed through a large door and arrived on the second floor. The moment he looked up, he discovered a pair of large azure eyes containing a boundless dragon might staring at him. In the next moment, he discovered a humongous dragon head nearly sticking to his nose. Roar! The dragon's head opened wide, and a vast baleful aura spread out. Xiaochen could not endure it and stumbled back a few steps. However, he did not fall. After he stabilized himself, his heart pounded heavily. "Not bad. You have passed the first stage. You are qualified to take the test." Chapter 1491. Xiaochen composed himself and revealed a bitter smile. "What is this? A show of strength? Xiaochen, this is Big Brother Dragon, the core item spirit of the Blue Dragon Palace. Back then, the Qing Emperor passed his test and became the master of the Blue Dragon Palace," the black-clad old man introduced. The black-clad old man introduced. The huge blue dragon trembled and turned into a mighty and extraordinary dragon horse. Then it said, "Let me correct you. Back then, Xiaoting only passed the test and did not obtain the inheritance. Strictly speaking, he is not the master of the Blue Dragon Palace." Test. Inheritance? Right now, Xiaochen felt confused. He did not understand anything, his face filled with confusion. The azure dragon horse swayed its body and said to Xiaochen, "Come with me." Xiaochen obeyed and followed the other party. At the same time, Xiaochen looked around. The second floor of the Blue Dragon Palace was much larger than the first and second floors. The corridors were even more complicated. There were also several places that were pitch black. Xiaochen did not know where they led. "Since you are here, let me tell you about the origins of the Blue Dragon Palace, so that you can understand some things first," the dragon horse leading the way said. Xiaochen nodded and said respectfully, "Senior, please speak." Xiaochen could feel the strength of this dragon horse as well as the ancient aura left behind by the passage of time. Xiaochen did not dare to be presumptuous. His attitude was very sincere. As he walked here, he felt like he was returning to his roots. Xiaochen did not know if it was a misperception, but it felt very strange. At the same time, it made him feel even more humble. The dragon race has a long and ancient history. They are one of the great desolate 100 races of the universe. After the destruction of countless epochs, they still exist. Xiaochen understood what epochs were. Right now, the Kunlun realm was in the martial epoch. Before that, it was the immortal epoch. There had to be other epochs above the immortal epoch. Epochs rose and fell in an endless cycle. However, what did the great desolate 100 races mean? Xiaochen did not understand. When the dragon horse heard Xiaochen's question, it muttered to itself, "Why don't you understand this?" That being said, this land of exile is like a cage. It is truly sealed up. Let me tell you, at the beginning of the universe, there was chaos. In the primal chaos, there was no sky, no earth, no time, and no reason. But it's not like there's no life in between. The beings born from the chaos were called chaos gods and demons. The gods and demons fought each other until the chaos was shattered. That era was called the mythical era. The chaos was broken, and the mythological era came to an end. Then came the primitive era. During the Great Desolate Era, tens of thousands of clans fought for supremacy. At that time, there were a total of 100 clans, and my dragon clan was one of them. After the Great Desolate Era ended, the universe entered the Epic Era, and the epics continued to reincarnate. Legend has it that after 3,000 reincarnations, the era will end and the universe will enter a new era. Xiaochen listened to this explanation that he had never heard of before. It was like a heavenly book, and he was completely shocked. The Azure Dragon Horse continued. You don't have to care about all this. What I want to tell you is that the pure-blooded dragon race is already extinct. However, there's no need to find this strange. After the epics, the pure-blooded Great Desolate 100 races are nearly all dead. The so-called dragon race now is just some existences with the dragon race bloodline, continuing the history of the dragon race. The dragon race is just a general term. The dragon race is also divided into different ranks. The most supreme are the 3 ancestor dragons. Below the ancestor dragons are the 7-colored divine dragons. Below the divine dragons are the coiling dragons, sky dragons, flood dragons, lightning dragons, and other true dragons. There's no need to mention those below the true dragons. The dragon race bloodline is already too thin. They can't even become dragons, only pseudo-dragons. Xiaochen's comprehension ability was astonishing. Although the Azure Dragon Horse's explanation was complicated, he understood it with just a little thought. The ranks of the dragon race were Ancestor Dragon, Divine Dragon, True Dragon, and Pseudo-Dragon. However, Xiaochen did not know which rank his Blue Dragon bloodline was in. You have the Blue Dragon bloodline, one of the 7-colored divine dragons. The Ancestor Dragon bloodline disappeared several epochs ago. The Divine Dragon bloodline is now the strongest bloodline of the dragon race. You have to understand the nobility of your status. You are a noble among dragons. When you go out in the future, do not tarnish the reputation of my Blue Dragon bloodline. The Azure Dragon Horse turned its head and stared at Xiaochen as it instructed him. Its extremely serious expression made Xiaochen feel somewhat embarrassed. Xiaochen said softly, Senior, I don't feel anything special about the bloodline in my body. That's normal. This is because the Blue Dragon martial spirit in your body has not merged with your blood yet. When you pass the test, I will naturally help you refine the Blue Dragon martial spirit. At that time, you will be an outstanding demonic genius with the bloodline of the Great Desolate 100 races. The dragon horse was not surprised at all. As it spoke, it walked forward. Stone pillars with dragon motifs lined both sides of the path. Xiaochen felt that he would reach his destination soon. Along the way, the two did not stop talking. Of course, most of the time, it was the dragon horse talking, and Xiaochen listening seriously. Occasionally, the dragon horse had questions, and it would explain in detail so that Xiaochen could understand it clearly. It seemed like the dragon horse's temper was not as strange as the black-clad old man said. The Blue Dragon Palace is the inheritance of my Blue Dragon bloodline. The Blue Dragon bloodline has produced more than 100 dragon emperors. The dragon emperors are the divine dragon emperors. They control the life and death of the dragon race. You only need to pass the test. Just like the Qing emperor, you need to obtain the inheritance of the dragon emperor. Only then can you be the true master of the Blue Dragon Palace. As the dragon horse spoke, the man and the horse arrived at a large hall. The large hall was clean and elegant. However, the might and pressure of the dragon race permeated this peaceful atmosphere. Those not of the dragon race would feel a different effect. They would not be as calm as Xiaochen. When the dragon horse arrived at the large hall, the dragon horse stopped. Xiaochen knew that the test was about to begin. Along the way, the dragon horse spoke, and Xiaochen listened. Only when it had questions would the dragon horse speak up. The things that the dragon horse spoke about were related to the Blue Dragon Palace's origins and the dragon race's existence. Xiaochen did not ask the true question in his heart. He did not know if he could pass the test or not. If he could not, then he would never have a chance to ask. After calming himself, Xiaochen decided to ask before the test began. After making up his mind, he asked, "Senior, this junior would like to ask about something. I hope that senior can tell me sincerely." The dragon horse was not in a rush. It looked at Xiaochen and said, "Speak." Xiaochen had already organized what he wanted to say many times in his mind. Then he asked, "Senior, I would like to ask if the major characters outside the abandoned land can forcefully summon the people of the Kunlun realm out." They can. However, they need to go through a ceremony. Furthermore, the conditions are very strict. The energy and resources that the ceremony requires are hard to calculate. It is very difficult for the people in this abandoned land to leave, but it is even more difficult for the people outside to enter. The dragon horse did not hesitate at all. It continued, "Hence, such a thing rarely happens. It might even be impossible. However, it cannot be denied that such a ceremony does exist." Xiaochen calmed down a little. His heart, which had been hanging in suspense for a long time, finally stopped. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, he asked, "If the person being summoned has the white dragon bloodline, what are the chances?" The Blue Dragon Palace's core item Soul, which usually answered quickly, hesitated for a moment when it heard this question. "Senior, what's wrong?" Xiaochen asked as anticipation flickered in his eyes. An indiscernible strange light flashed in the dragon horse's eyes. It replied, "The white dragon is also one of the 7-colored divine dragons. If what you said is true, given the strength of the white dragon bloodline and the resources expended, I can be absolutely certain." Xiaochen did not see the strange light in the dragon horse's eyes. Instead, he revealed an expression of joy and said, "Many thanks, Senior. However, before we start the test, can Senior let me see the scene outside the Blue Dragon Palace?" The dragon horse quickly replied, "I cannot do that. If I want to see the situation outside, I will have to open the barrier of the Blue Dragon Palace. There will be the danger of outsiders attacking." When Xiaochen heard that, he felt somewhat disappointed. He said sullenly, "In that case, Senior, please let me take the test." The dragon horse turned around and looked in a direction. Then it said, "Go straight down this trial path. If you can reach the end, you will pass the test." "Many thanks." After performing a cupped fist salute and thanking the dragon horse, Xiaochen quickly headed for the trial path. Whether he succeeded or not, he wanted to leave quickly. After Xiaochen's figure disappeared, the black-clad old man revealed himself. "Big brother dragon, why did you lie to him? Given your abilities, how could you not see the situation outside? So what if he saw it? Could it be that he gave up on the trial and went out to die? You should know that he is the last existence of my blue dragon bloodline. I can't afford to bear the consequences. I think very highly of him. You'd best not speak too much about Xiaoteng, lest you cause trouble for him." When the black-clad old man heard the dragon horse mention Xiaoteng, he revealed a sad expression as he sighed softly. Chapter 1492. Filled with anticipation and nervousness, Xiaochen stepped onto the trial road. Once he reached the end, he would pass. Where was the end? After walking for a while, Xiaochen came across the first door. There was an ancient dragon carving on the door. Before Xiaochen could push it open, the door opened on its own. The instant the door opened, a cold wind blew in. There was a vast hall outside. Xiaochen hesitated for a moment before walking in. Dang! The moment Xiaochen crossed the threshold, the stone door immediately fell shut. Xiaochen tried pushing it a few times and discovered that the closed door could not be opened. This was a trial road that only allowed one to advance and not retreat. Xiaochen looked at the hall before him. There were 18 statues in a circle, occupying most of the vast hall. To pass the hall, one had to go through the circle formed by these 18 statues. Xiaochen had seen many similar statues before. As long as one walked past them, these seemingly stiff statues would come to life. One had to defeat these statues. The statue before Xiaochen was neither human nor dragon. It was a kind of monster that Xiao Chun had never seen before. It looked strange and sinister, glaring at Xiao Chun. A pair of black eyes protruded out, looking very eye-catching. Let's see how strong the puppet war beast of the first stage is. Without overthinking, Xiao Chun walked quickly and soon entered the circle. Xiao Chun cautiously faced it. However, to his surprise, this monster statue did not come to life. Just as Xiao Chun was feeling bewildered, the eyes of the 18 ferocious beast statues all lit up, releasing a golden light. Before Xiao Chun could understand what was going on, the gaze of a ferocious beast moved at the speed of light, shooting at Xiao Chun. Whoosh! So fast! Xiao Chun exclaimed to himself. He quickly dodged to the side, and the beam of light brushed past him. Dang! A few more beams of light shot out. Xiao Chun could not dodge in time, so he could only draw his divine weapon to block. In the end, the force contained in the beam of light numbed Xiao Chun's arm, forcing him to retreat. What strong force! The light beam could not be blocked at all. Xiao Chun was startled awake. This trial tested the trial taker's movement technique and reaction speed. He wasn't going to defeat these statues as he had expected. That would be easy to deal with. In this small space, 18 beams of light shot back and forth. For others, it was very difficult, but it was different for Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun's fish dragon art excelled at dodging in small spaces. Then he put away his divine weapon. Xiao Chun executed the fish dragon art. His body moved like a fish in water, gently dodging the beams of light. Hoochie hoochie! Just as Xiao Chun was about to pass through, the statue suddenly began to move rapidly. The beams of light it emitted became even more elusive. Xiao Chun's relaxed expression turned grave as he fell into deep thought. Trying to figure out the rules was clearly a delusion. The real way to clear the trial was to hit the target with a single strike. With this thought in mind, Xiao Chun's eyes focused on a statue. When the statue arrived in front of Xiao Chun, it gently pushed off the ground with its feet, and its body transformed into a dragon. The originally nimble figure suddenly changed, becoming tyrannical. Filled with berserk energy, the immortal fish transformed into a dragon. Whoosh! Xiao Chun soared into the air, moving extremely fast. The statues all raised their heads, and the beams of light formed a net in the air. However, the beams of light only struck Xiao Chun's afterimage. Just as the statue in front was about to shoot out a beam of light, the advancing Xiao Chun somersaulted in the air and tapped on the statue's head before leaping over. The instant Xiao Chun left the encirclement, the statue immediately stopped moving. Clap! 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 Applause rang out, and a handsome, middle-aged man walked out of the shadow in front. A golden light flickered in the depths of his eyes. Not bad. As long as you don't get hit 10 times, you pass this trial. You did not get hit even once and used only 1 hour to come out. This really exceeded my expectations. Xiao Chun could not help feeling speechless. Had he known, he would not have put in so much effort. He performed a cupped fist salute and asked, "You are?" The middle-aged man smiled and said, "When I was alive, I was a cultivator of the Blue Dragon bloodline. After I died, I was placed in the Blue Dragon Palace. I can be considered half an item soul, responsible for the first trial." After he spoke, he waved his hand, and 7 or 8 secret manuals and some secret treasures floated in front of him. You pass with full marks. This is your reward. The secret manuals are about movement techniques. The other innate profound weapons are also for movement techniques and speed. Xiao Chun rejoiced in his heart. There was such a good thing. I can get a reward even before I complete the trial. Of course. We are all people of my dragon race. Even if we do not pass the trial, we have to give some benefits, right? The middle-aged man smiled amiably. Xiao Chun did not stand on ceremony. He started to choose carefully, already making up his mind. No matter how good the secret manuals were, they required time to cultivate. However, innate profound weapons were different. After refining them, they could be used immediately. In the long run, the secret manuals were definitely worth it. However, what Xiao Chun lacked the most now was time. He did not know when the demonic calamity would descend. After he left, he would definitely face a lot of trouble. "Senior, what is an innate profound weapon? Can you explain it to me?" Xiao Chen asked. The middle-aged man nodded and said, outside the abandoned land, the art of refining has already reached great heights. The secret treasures of your world are equivalent to the spirit treasures of the outside world. Above spirit treasures are profound weapons. Profound weapons are divided into acquired and innate and acquired. Each has 3 grades. Even the most ordinary innate profound weapon is stronger than an emperor-grade secret treasure of the Kunlun realm. The 3 innate profound weapons before you go without saying. Xiao Chen entered deep thought and roughly understood. Then he chose a pair of wings. This is an imitation of the blue dragon divine wings. However, among innate profound weapons, it is at the peak of superior grade. You have good eyes. The middle-aged man stretched out his hand and put away the other secret manuals. Then, he left the imitation of the blue dragon divine wings for Xiao Chen. After Xiao Chen left a spiritual mark in it, he started refining it. Finally, the imitation of the blue dragon divine wings turned into a beam of light and entered his body. Immediately, it felt like a flame was burning in his body, spreading everywhere. Just as Xiao Chen felt uncertain, this flame split into 2 and entered Xiao Chen's back. An intense pain came from his back. It was as if a volcano was about to erupt from his back. After being suppressed for a long time, this energy finally erupted. A pair of azure-colored dragon wings spread open on Xiao Chen's back. Whoosh! The azure-colored dragon wings flapped gently, and a strong wind blew. Xiao Chen's body flew into the ceiling with a bang. Xiao Chen's head crashed into the ceiling, and he cried out in pain as he fell down. The middle-aged man was not surprised. He smiled and said, although this pair of blue dragon divine wings is an imitation, they are very strong. With a gentle flap, they can generate a strong wind. If you have a special flame, you can use this pair of blue dragon divine wings to increase the might of your flames. Xiao Chen put away the blue dragon divine wings. When he heard that, he rejoiced. Aside from increasing speed, this pair of blue dragon divine wings had such a function. It was truly wondrous. These blue dragon divine wings have many other uses. You will understand them in the future. However, remember one thing. Outside the abandoned land, wing-type profound weapons are extremely precious. Even if it is just an innate profound weapon, it will cause a commotion. Don't reveal it randomly. Xiao Chen nodded and performed a cupped fist salute. Many thanks, Senior. You are too polite. Let me give you a friendly reminder. The next stage tests your eyesight. Remember not to get distracted after you enter. If you have any eye techniques that increase your eyesight, execute them the moment you enter. You do not have much time left. The middle-aged man was rather amiable. Before Xiao Chen left, he gave him some advice. Chapter 1493. After Xiao Chen left, the dragon horse and the black-clad old man walked over from the hall. The middle-aged man said to the dragon horse, "Big brother dragon." The dragon horse nodded like a human and said, "How did it go? How did your performance go? What reward did you choose?" The middle-aged man answered honestly. He passed with full marks, using less than 1 hour. He chose the replica of the blue dragon divine wings. He passed with full marks. He is even more incredible than the Qing emperor back then. The black-clad old man revealed a strange expression, clearly in disbelief and shock. The dragon horse said rudely, "I said long ago that I think highly of him." He took a different path from the Qing emperor. Back then, the Qing emperor wanted to enter the Tao with the demonic Tao, but he already went astray. Most importantly, he is still young. His future is limitless. The black-clad old man remained silent. He could not rebut this, nor could he. Entering the Tao with the demonic Tao was indeed a direction. The great Tao was one. No matter what path was taken, it would all lead to the same destination in the end. However, the Qing emperor's path was too extreme. In the end, he failed. There was nothing much to say, nor was there a need to say anything more. He chose the replica of the blue dragon divine wings. Given his intelligence, it is not hard for him to guess that those secret manuals are more precious. It looks like while he does not know what is happening outside, he has a vague premonition. The Dragon's Gate's astute old Taoist priest figured out Xiao Chen's thoughts. After entering the second stage and opening the door, Xiaochen discovered that the scene before him kept changing. At one moment it was a desert, then a vast ocean, then a glacier, then a sea of fire. Xiaochen had already opened his heavenly eye long ago. However, he still felt that he could not see clearly enough, unable to figure out what was going on. Amid this constantly changing scene, a girl in her prime walked out. There was also a barely detectable golden light in the depths of her eyes. "Greetings, senior," Xiaochen said respectfully with a slight bow. The girl in her prime nodded. "This stage is a test of vision. From the moment you entered, a total of 9 different scenes appeared. I want you to draw them all in one painting." This Xiaochen felt somewhat stunned. No wonder the middle-aged man in front told him to open his heavenly eye the moment he entered. Fortunately, he did as he was told. However, he had never learned how to draw. Do you still need to learn the tricks of painting for a warrior of your strength? This stage tests your eyesight, not your drawing skills. Just draw whatever you see. The young woman was far less amiable than the middle-aged man. She didn't bother to hide her emotions. After handing over the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone to Xiaochen, she walked to the side and didn't say anything. Xiaochen smiled helplessly. He rolled up his sleeves, picked up the brush, and began to ponder. He still had some drawing skills. After all, he was also a person who drew talismans a long time ago. The way he held the brush was quite decent. His white robes fluttered in the wind, giving him an air of elegance. How to draw? From the beginning till now, it had only been a minute, but a total of 9 scenes had appeared. Barren mountain, desert, glacier, swamp city, small courtyard, battlefield, ocean, lake, etc. It was impossible for him to draw them all. Eyesight. Just as Xiaochen was at his wit's end, he suddenly remembered the purpose of this stage. Then he revealed a faint smile. It turned out that this stage was not just a test of eyesight, but also of flexibility. What was eyesight? It could be summed up in 8 words: perceptive, meticulous, and perceptive. As long as this painting could depict the 9 environments and embody these 8 words, it would be enough. If he wanted to draw all 9 scenes, who knew how long he would have to wait? The first scene was a barren mountain. Xiaochen remembered an unremarkable blade of grass in a crack at the peak of the barren mountain, so he drew it. There was an indistinct black dot in the extreme distance of the glacier. It looked like a cultivator carrying a sword on his back. The ocean was vast, stretching as far as the eye could see. However, Xiaochen remembered that the scene in that illusion left the deepest impression on him was a wave. The wave surged, hiding a ferocious sea beast. It seemed to merge with the wave, making it hard to distinguish. On the battlefield, 2 armies faced each other. More than 10,000 cultivators fought. There were countless martial techniques. However, Xiaochen saw them all. In less than 15 minutes, Xiaochen stopped writing. Then he smiled at the young woman and said, "I'm done." So fast. The young woman clearly did not believe him. She said coldly, "Have you thought it through? There is no time limit for this stage. However, you only have 1 chance." Xiaochen said confidently, "I have thought it through. Senior, please take a look." The young woman gave Xiaochen a deep look. Then she walked over quickly. When she saw the painting clearly, her lips curled up, revealing a mocking expression on her pretty face. "What did you draw? Although I am not very strict, there is no need to do this even if you want to brush me off." In the painting, fallen leaves fell. A handsome swordsman with a blade of grass in his mouth executed a sword technique and killed a ferocious beast. Xiaochen did not panic. He said warmly, "Senior, please take a closer look." The young woman looked suspiciously at Xiaochen. She did not understand why he was so confident. However, when she looked at the painting again, she was suddenly stunned. The more he delved into it, the more shocked he became. "How did you do it?" The young woman asked seriously as she put down the painting. Needless to say, Xiaochen naturally passed the test of this stage, meeting the requirements. Xiaochen smiled faintly and said, "I did it just like that. Senior, I finally passed." "You pass with full marks. The reward for this stage is 3 eye technique secret manuals, and a bottle of superior purity immortal water, a spiritual liquid that improves eye techniques." Which one do you choose? Xiaochen did not hesitate. He said seriously, superior purity immortal water. Have you thought it through? Even without the spiritual liquid, your eye technique will make a breakthrough. Furthermore, once you give up on the eye technique's secret manuals, it will be extremely difficult to obtain them again. Thank you for senior's kind intentions. This junior has thought it through. Here. The young woman handed a jade bottle to Xiaochen. Naturally, this bottle contained the superior purity immortal water. Xiaochen held it in his hand and entered deep thought. Then he took out another jade bottle and split the superior purity immortal water in half. This way, the effects would not be optimal. However, it could improve his two eye techniques, the heavenly eye and the divine lightning eye. These two eye techniques had reached a critical juncture. Relying on the superior purity immortal water to make a breakthrough was the best choice. There was no need to elaborate on the process of consuming the divine lightning eye. After the divine lightning eye was refined, Xiaochen's divine lightning eye stabilized at the third layer. It was no longer like before, where he could barely use it. Now he could easily layer on 3 bolts of divine lightning and severely injure a prime. The heavenly eye officially entered the next level, reaching the point where it could fly and tunnel through the ground. With just a thought, the heavenly eye could leave his body. It could hover in the 9 heavens or sink into the deep abyss in the ground. Many thanks, Senior. Xiaochen tested out the 2 advanced eye techniques. Then he bowed slightly and took his leave. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Not long after Xiaochen left, the black-clad old man, the middle-aged man, and the dragon horse all rushed over excitedly. How did this fellow clear the stages so quickly? Let me take a look at his painting. The dragon horse felt suspicious. When it saw Xiaochen's painting, it became even more confused. The black-clad old man and the middle-aged man also goggled at each other, unable to understand. However, the dragon horse's intuition told it that the painting was not simple. It looked at the young woman and said, Hongyi, change the 9 illusions from earlier. Alright, big brother dragon. The young woman did as instructed. After carefully looking at the painting, the dragon horse, the black-clad old man, and the middle-aged man's eyes lit up when they looked at the painting again. Seeing through the finest details, meticulous. This little fellow's eyes are indeed extraordinary. The most unremarkable grass in the crack of a rock at the summit of a desolate mountain. He could make out a swordsman with such an appearance just by looking at a dot on the glacier. Fighting on the battlefield. Seeing a person's appearance among millions of people. And having a photographic memory for his martial techniques. An expression of admiration flashed in the middle-aged man's eyes as he muttered to himself, describing the wonders of the painting. The young woman looked at the painting and said, What's even rarer is that he merged all these into one painting. Furthermore, it looks very natural. This kind of inference, as well as his excellent comprehension ability and adaptability, is the most terrifying. The next stage is fear, right? The old dragon horse suddenly said. The 3 showed stunned expressions and fell silent at the same time. Fear. Over the past millions of years, many dragon race outstanding talents had fallen at this stage. This stage was not limited to the Blue Dragon Palace. The inheritance palaces of the other divine dragons had similar stages as well. How many talented, peerless geniuses had fallen at this stage? Too many to count. The final successor of the Blue Dragon bloodline had such an eye-catching performance. Could he clear this stage? Chapter 1494. Chaos reigned outside the Blue Dragon Palace in the savage battlefield. Space shattered, and all sorts of storms accompanied the shards of space, howling as they approached. The area outside the Blue Dragon Palace had already turned into rubble. The ground was cracked and floating in the air. When 6 primes fought, how horrifying would the shockwaves be? Without needing to think, one could easily guess that ordinary people would run as far as they could. The damage to the ground was too severe. The Blue Dragon Palace directly soared into the air. Although the battle was ferocious, a formless aura protected the surroundings of the Azure Dragon Palace, allowing it to remain undamaged. During the huge battle, Emperor Forsaken suppressed the Fox King alone. The other 3, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, the Kittigarbha Bodhisattva, and the heaven-punishing corpse god, surrounded Zongtian. The two primes were in an incredibly miserable state. Emperor Forsaken's arrangement was extremely vicious. By separating the two, the other three had the absolute advantage against the weaker Zongtian. As for the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, he would firmly suppress the Fox King and wait for Zongtian to be defeated. By then it would be 4 against 1, and the Fox King would be defeated even more miserably. At this moment, the Fox King had already revealed his fiend form. The huge nine-tailed spirit fox had scarlet eyes as it faced Emperor Forsaken. The nine-tailed spirit fox was not in the mood to fight, and wanted to leave this place. However, Emperor Forsaken did not give it this chance. When the strongest person of the Kunlun realm unleashed his full strength, he was so strong that it was horrifying. The body of the nine-tailed spirit fox was already riddled with wounds. Blood stained its smooth white fur. Due to excessive blood loss, the fur on the nine-tailed spirit fox was now scarlet and wrinkled. The Emperor Forsaken also had many injuries on his body. Clearly, the strongest person of the Kunlun realm had put in his full power. If this was a normal battle in the past, with his strength, there was no need for him to fight so fiercely. He could just slowly wear down the Fox King and defeat him. But today it was different. There was fire in his heart, and he had long since fought to the point of madness. Inextinguishable divine light, starry sky divine palm. The two palms overlapped, and Emperor Forsaken's most powerful move appeared. The starry sky of the universe appeared, and the stars flickered. They were like ancient gods, emitting boundless radiance, dazzling and moving. Emperor Forsaken's body emitted a tangible divine light that soared into the sky. The tremendous will of holy light was pushed to the limit by him, and the entire space seemed to have frozen. A gigantic god appeared from the depths of the universe and struck out with his palm. With the support of the holy light will, this palm strike was twice as powerful as the one Xiao Chun had received previously. Boom! The Fox King, who faced the palm with all his might, could no longer maintain his demon form. He turned back into his human form and spat out a mouthful of blood. The Fox King's face paled, and flames of rage flickered in his eyes. "Qitian, are you for real?" Emperor Forsaken's expression turned cold as he said, "I already said that if you had surrendered, I would not have done this. However, you resisted to the end. In that case, don't blame me for being merciless. To tell you the truth, this is not my full strength. I am much stronger than you imagine. I am much stronger than you imagine." These words were extremely tyrannical. However, when Emperor Forsaken said them, everyone had no choice but to believe them. They had no choice but to be convinced. In the days before the Thunder King disappeared, Emperor Forsaken had never truly made a move. However, today he was forced into a corner and completely unleashed his full strength. Thinking of this, the Spirit Fox King could not help but feel despair when facing the current Qitian. Facing the current Qitian, the Fox King felt like he was facing the Thunder King from back then. This person had hidden himself very deeply. Actually, the Fox King's strength was already on par with the Thunder King long ago. However, he had been holding it in. On the other side, Zongtian was surrounded by 3 people. His situation was even more miserable. The Kittigarbha Bodhisattva revealed his Dharmic incarnation, and used the various Buddhist secret techniques of the immortal epoch to continuously harass Zongtian. Just this person annoyed Zongtian to no end. The heaven-punishing corpse god stuck close to Xiao Chun from start to end. Every time Xiao Chun exchanged a palm strike with the heaven-punishing corpse god, he felt his internal organs tremble intensely. Furthermore, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor was like a venomous thorn. He attacked the least, but every time he attacked, he would deal the most fatal damage. Several terrifying sword wounds appeared on Xiao Chun's body, all from the heaven-punishing corpse god. Zongtian, why bother? If you continue holding on like this, you will die for sure. The heaven-punishing corpse god said indifferently after sending Zongtian flying with a palm strike. Zongtian vomited a mouthful of blood. Then he smiled and said, "What is there to fear about death? In my entire life, I have never been threatened by anyone, much less become a pawn in someone else's hands. Let me tell you this. If you want to use me to threaten Xiao Chun, there is no way. At worst, I will just die." Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he suddenly spun around like a phantom and threw a palm strike at the Ghost Emperor, who sneak attacked him. Xiao Chen beat the Ghost Emperor until he was covered in wounds. The light of the great sun left him in a sorry state. Zongtian's lips curled up in a mocking smile. He said coldly, "This is an opening that I purposely revealed. You are the most detestable. Even if I die, I will take you down with me." Xiao Chen's smile, coupled with the blood on his face, startled the Dongyue Ghost Emperor. "Ha ha ha. Look at your cowardly appearance. Heaven punishing corpse, fighting you is still the most enjoyable." Covered in blood, Zongtian's long hair fluttered in the wind. Then he laughed maniacally and took the initiative to charge at the heaven-punishing corpse god, a prime who had substantiated his Tao with his physical body. "May the Lord Buddha bless you. Benefactor, your malevolence is too heavy." The Kittigarbha Bodhisattva's Buddhist scriptures buzzed and entered Zongtian's mind, slowing his movements and inflicting incredible pain in his mind. Damn it! This bald donkey is at it again. Outside the hall, the two primes used all their means. However, they could not change anything. The disparity in numbers and strength left the two supremes in a sorry and miserable state. Meanwhile, inside the Blue Dragon Hall, Xiao Chen also encountered the most difficult stage of the test: fear. The fear of the dragon race, the nightmare of all dragons. Every dragon race member had to overcome this stage before they could truly pass the test. Otherwise, no matter how outstanding one was, one would be eliminated. After stepping into this stage, the instant the stone door descended, Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. A bad feeling welled up in his heart. This pitch-black space did not allow him to see anything. He could not even see his fingers when he stretched out his hand. Xiao Chen kept walking in silence. Aside from the sound of his footsteps, there was only the sound of his heartbeat. For some reason, Xiao Chen's heartbeat sped up. Although he could not see anything in the pitch-black space, Xiao Chen felt that something was staring at him. Xiao Chen felt goosebumps all over his body, and his heartbeat sped up uncontrollably. Whoosh! Suddenly, a pair of green eyes appeared in the dark space, looking exceptionally horrifying. Following that, another pair of eyes appeared. In the next moment, they densely packed together. What is it? Suddenly the light brightened. When Xiao Chen saw it clearly, his complexion paled. It was a hoe, the natural enemy of dragons, an extremely strange mutated beast in the world. It ate dragon brains and spat out strange flames. It ate dragons like eating earthworms. When Xiao Chen first saw the ghost of a hoe, it was just the ghost of a hoe, yet it scared him so much that he could not move. At this moment, a living hoe appeared before him. Furthermore, it was not one but a group of hoe. A rough count gave about 50 of them. Xiao Chen's legs trembled involuntarily, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. It was not because he was weak. This was the most instinctive fear in his body, like a rabbit seeing an eagle. It was the fear of a natural enemy. Chapter 1495. Give up. That was right. Only by giving up could one survive. The girl in her prime said sullenly, "How dangerous. I nearly got crippled by fear. Fortunately, I persevered." However, some things could be dropped, but some things like backbone absolutely could not be dropped. Feeling confused, Xiao Chen asked, "However, I already chose to give up. Why did you let me pass?" Before this immense fear, the helpless Xiao Chen's confidence, which he had built up for a long time, shattered. Born in this world, you and I are both ordinary people. What Blue Dragon King? What Shadowless Saber Sovereign? They are just empty titles. In the end, he is just an ordinary person. Boom. Xiao Chen crashed into the wall. Blood leaked out of a corner of his lips as he revealed a bitter smile. Whoosh. No way. As Xiao Chen looked at the group of hoe charging over, he felt despair. He already could not deal with one hoe. How could he deal with 50 odd of them? No matter what the rumors were, these mutated beasts were the natural nemesis of dragons. One hoe fighting 3 dragons alone, and not being at a disadvantage, even being able to consume 2 of them, was not an exaggeration. The hoe clawed at Xiao Chen and knocked away the saber in his hand. Although I, Xiao Chen, am just an ordinary person, I cannot lose my backbone. Even if I give up, I have to do it at the last moment. Right now, 50 Ho surrounded me. Xiao Chen's mind went blank. His right hand, which held the saber, felt powerless. This was much easier than Xiao Chen's. However, the old dragon horse shook its head in silence back then. Many thanks. Because this stage is a test of fear. If you can last 15 minutes, you pass. Not only did you last 15 minutes, but you even attacked the Ho. That is enough to pass. Even though Xiao Chen's current strength was not even half of his usual strength, he still had to face fear. Xiao Chen, who had already thought things through, could not lose his backbone. Even if he gave up, he had to persist until the last moment. Holding his saber, Xiao Chen knelt on one knee and looked at the approaching Ho. His eyes were ashen, filled with despair and heart-wrenching pain. Xiao Chen felt dazed for a moment. When he discovered that he was unharmed, he asked in a daze, "What happened?" The dragon horse looked at the last door and said, "This test has already proven that he is different from the Qing Emperor. As long as he passes one more test, he will definitely obtain the inheritance." Those who couldn't stand it would be scared to the point of wetting their pants on the spot. Those who had slightly stronger willpower would only cry out in despair. They wouldn't fare much better. Looking at the young beast now, he would still be afraid and feel that it would be difficult to defeat it. However, the trembling of not being able to hold the saber did not exist anymore. The azure-clothed man explained with a smile on his face, "Fight!" Knife, knife, knife. Xiao Chen looked at the pendant suspiciously. He didn't feel that there was anything special about it, but since the other party said so, it must have a miraculous effect. It turned out that he still had so many things he was reluctant to part with. He was also a greedy person. Whoosh. In the face of immense fear, Xiao Chen tossed aside his usual confidence and vanity. This made Xiao Chen realize how ordinary he was. One was the natural enemy of the dragon race, and the other was Xiao Chen, who was not even half as strong as he normally was. The result of this battle went without saying. Move. 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 Hurry up and move. Right now, Xiao Chen's situation was even more miserable. He might even fall to the ground. He was like a successful man in the modern society, standing high above the masses. Xiao Chen was tossed into a cage with a group of ferocious tigers that had starved for 10 days. I can't continue protecting the dragon's gate. I can't go out. I can't do anything. I still have many things to do. I can't die. I absolutely can't die. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen thought of many things. Many things he had experienced and many people flashed in his mind. When the saber light scattered, Xiao Chen discovered that the 50-odd young beasts were gone. In their place was a yong the size of a small mountain. Immediately, the silence was broken. The yong surrounding Xiao Chen all pounced over, densely surrounding him. Everything you experienced earlier was the carefree illusion. The illusion merged with the souls of some young beasts. Hence, it was so realistic that you did not notice it. Xiao Chen also gave up. However, this time, Xiao Chen was much more at ease. It was like he had already forgotten his fear in the intense battle. I really can't clear this stage. I should just give up. There was nothing funny about this. This was a fear that was born in the bones from the moment one was born. It was very hard to eradicate. Today, Xiao Chen was having such a difficult time. However, Big Brother Dragon said that Xiao Chen would definitely obtain the inheritance. Fortunately, such mutated beasts were extremely rare. They also did not have the ability to reproduce. Otherwise, these mutated beasts would have wiped out the dragon race long ago. I give up. When this group of tigers slowly approached, they would shatter this successful person's demeanor, aura, and confidence. Just as the 50 young beasts were about to pounce over, Xiao Chen finally made his move. Enduring his intense fear, he drew the lunar shadow saber, and sent out a resplendent saber light. Everyone was born equal. However, some people lost too many things, while others managed to hold on to some things. It was not that some people were born extraordinary. It was just that they lost fewer things. The green-robed man smiled and pointed to the front. Quickly go. There is still one more stage. Then you will pass the test. Do your best to obtain the inheritance. If Xiao Chen persisted, only death would await him. Death was like a lamp going out. There was nothing he could do. That was enough. Even if he failed this stage, Xiaochen had learned many things. However, was he really going to give up? Congratulations, you've passed this stage. Am I going to die? Dong. 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 The moment Xiaochen left, urgent footsteps rang out. The dragon horse and the others asked anxiously, "How was it? How did Xiaochen perform?" If it wasn't for the fact that the dragon spirit guarding the tomb had strengthened the blue dragon martial soul in the distant sea dragon tomb, it wouldn't have been able to do so. He was right in saying that it was impossible for the Qing emperor to obtain the inheritance. With a smile, the green-clothed man recounted what had happened earlier in full detail. Dang. There were many legends about Ho. Some said that it was a strange beast born from the void and chaos. Some said that it was transformed from a chaotic godfiend after its death, while others said that it was a divine pet from the chaotic era. The azure-clothed man took out a pendant and handed it to Xiaochen. This is a secret treasure of the dragon race. A drop of the dragon race's blood is infused into it. In the future, when you face the young beasts, you will no longer feel fear. It was hard to imagine that the dragon race, one of the great desolate 100 races, would have such a weakness. In the blink of an eye, Xiaochen was covered in cuts and bruises by the young beast, looking extremely battered and exhausted. He was no different from the others. Damn it! Sweat poured down Xiaochen's forehead as he did his best to grasp the lunar shadow saber and draw it. However, his right hand was powerless. He clearly wanted to move, but his hand felt like it weighed 5 tons, unable to move. The middle-aged man thought for a while before saying, "Fear is something that cannot be truly defeated. The most important thing is to face it calmly." For him to understand this principle at the last moment, he is truly remarkable. The scene before Xiaochen suddenly vanished, and a youth wearing azure robes walked out. Dust to dust, dust to dust. What difference could there be? A Ho ferociously pounced over, opening its mouth as it flew towards Xiaochen. The Ho looked like a horse with a dragon horn on its head. Its body was covered in scales, and it had a pair of short wings on its back. There was only calmness in its eyes. There was no depression or pain from failure. Whoosh! The black-clothed man simply could not understand. Dang! The black-clothed old man remained silent. Back then, the Qing emperor used the demonic Tao to enter the Tao. After he erased his fear, he passed the stage in an instant. Chapter 1496. This was the final stage of the trial of trial. Once one cleared it, one would pass the test. Of course, whether one could obtain the Dragon Emperor's inheritance was another matter. Xiaochen opened the stone door, and the scene that entered his eyes was unexpected. There was a large mirror in front. A person that looked exactly like him appeared in it, wearing long white robes and holding the lunar shadow saber. Before Xiaochen could react, the person in the mirror walked out with a smile, and the mirror shattered at the same time. The final stage, overcoming self. Time limit, 2 hours. This doppelganger is 100% created according to your strength. It is exactly the same as you. It also knows your combat habits like the back of its hand. A voice rang out in the spacious hall, signaling the start of the test. Defeating myself? Before Xiaochen could think of a countermeasure, the clone in front suddenly vanished. Flawless saber technique, void-breaking stance. This was the first move of Xiaochen's flawless saber technique. There was no time to think. Xiaochen made his move, executing the flawless saber technique as well. Dang! 2 intense lights flashed in the air. When the sabers clashed, they gave off a metallic sound. The two were evenly matched, each taking 100 steps back. Xiaochen stood upright while holding his saber. He frowned slightly. This clone's strength was exactly the same as his, not weaker at all. This was somewhat problematic. Given this, no matter how he fought, it would be a draw. It would be hard for him to obtain victory. Furthermore, the requirement for this test was to obtain victory. Furthermore, there was a time limit. Once the battle started in the hall, it could not stop. 2 figures that looked exactly the same executed the same martial techniques. From start to end, they were evenly matched. No one could gain the upper hand. Soon half the test was over. Even so, Xiaochen still could not think of a countermeasure. When Xiaochen saw the exact same version of himself doing the exact same actions, he felt like he was looking at a mirror. Such a battle was both boring and depressing. Xiaochen was very familiar with the various martial techniques of the other party. The other party also knew his martial techniques and combat habits like the back of his hand. After fighting for so long, Xiaochen wondered if he was living in the mirror or standing outside the mirror. Xiaochen executed the flawless saber technique, the Taiji saber domain, dermic world and various other killing moves. However, he could not defeat the other party without exception. As for the divine lightning eye, he did not dare to use it at all. If he used it, both of them would be injured, and it would still be a draw. Seeing that the assessment was about to end, Xiaochen's heart became more and more anxious. Boom! The doppelganger's blade suddenly changed, and a moment of glory struck Xiaochen. The condensed scroll sealed the space and locked Xiaochen in place, making it impossible for him to break free. You and I are of similar strength. If you are distracted, you will definitely lose. The clone said coldly as he looked at Xiaochen, who was in the glorious painting. Then he clenched his fist. Kacha kacha. The picture scroll shattered, and so did the space. Xiaochen spat out a mouthful of blood, and retreated into the distance. His body was riddled with wounds from the shards of space. He wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips and smiled bitterly. It truly lives up to being me. As soon as I find an opening, I can immediately grab hold of it. Seeing that he was about to fail, Xiaochen stood up and asked with some dissatisfaction, "Do you really not have any weaknesses?" The clone held up his saber and pointed it at Xiaochen. He smiled and said, "I am you and you are me. Are you asking me, or are you asking yourself?" That's right. This clone is a replica of me. It is the me that walked out of the mirror. When I look at him, it is a mirror. When he looks at me, it is also a mirror. What is my weakness? However, so what if I know? If I can think of it, the other party can think of it as well. Weaknesses are mutual in the first place. Damn it. This seemingly simple stage actually gave Xiaochen a feeling of incomprehensibility. Mirror, 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 Xiaochen muttered to himself in his mind. Suddenly, inspiration flashed in Xiaochen's mind, and he revealed a smile. Why can't I defeat you? It is because I have been fighting with the mirror. Fighting with the person in the mirror. How can I win? When the clone saw this scene, he revealed a mocking smile. Our strengths are about the same, yet you still blinded yourself. That is just seeking death. Xiaochen took out a strip of cloth and directly covered his eyes. His vision turned dark, and he relied on his 5 senses and spiritual sense to fight with the clone. Before the clone's strange gaze, the blinded Xiaochen revealed a confident expression and charged over. Dang, dang, dang. An intense battle unfolded once more. However, even though it was clearly the same martial technique this time, the clone was slightly weaker. The clone would also be slightly weaker, not a match for Xiaochen. It was clearly the same flawless saber technique. However, Xiaochen's flawless saber technique was ever-changing, elegant and nimble. As for the clone's flawless saber technique, it looked exactly the same. However, it felt like something invisible was binding it. In less than 100 moves, Xiaochen held the upper hand, slowly accumulating his advantage. When the test reached the final second, Xiaochen swung his saber and hacked the clone until he vomited blood and could no longer stand up. The victor was immediately decided. Why? The clone felt immense pain. Feeling completely confused, Xiaochen removed the strip of cloth and opened his eyes. I already broke out of the mirror, but you are still fighting with the mirror. How can you not be defeated? Clap, clap, clap. Applause rang out, and the person in charge of the final stage walked out from the darkness. When he heard that, he smiled and said, "What a great breaking out of the mirror, overcoming oneself. Countless people have managed to clear this stage in the past millions of years. But there are very few people like you who can understand the meaning of breaking out of the mirror. Congratulations, Xiaochen. You have already passed all the tests of this road of trials. You are qualified to obtain the Divine Dragon bloodline and become a member of the dragon race." Laughter rang out. The old dragon horse led the black-clad old man, the girl in her prime, and the others out, clearly in a good mood. Xiaochen revealed a smile on his face. Along the way, he had cleared all the stages. He had been somewhat lucky. This was especially so for the third and fourth stages. They had been extremely arduous. Many times he felt like he had almost given up. The black-clad old man also felt happy for Xiaochen. He stepped forward and said, "Xiaochen, Big Brother Dragon thinks very highly of you. After obtaining the inheritance, you will be able to restore the might of the Blue Dragon. In the future, you will be able to revive the Blue Dragon bloodline. Congratulations, Brother Xiao. From today on, you are one of us." The others all congratulated Xiaochen. Even the girl in her prime, who had been indifferent earlier, revealed a smile. Xiaochen performed cupped fist salutes in return. Then he asked the old dragon horse to help him refine the blue dragon martial spirit into his bloodline. Whoosh! The dragon horse reverted to its gargantuan dragon form. A dragon claw hovered above Xiaochen's head, giving off a scarlet light. The dragon horse entered Xiaochen's head through the dragon claw. Then it pointed at the blue dragon martial spirit. Xiaochen immediately fell into a deep sleep, unaware of the outside world. Strange. The old dragon horse revealed a suspicious expression, feeling confused. The others felt it was strange and asked, "What's wrong?" The blue dragon martial spirit in his body seems to have undergone special cultivation and already gained spirituality. Furthermore, it contains the ethereal immortal chi that only existed during the immortal epoch. The black-clad old man frowned and asked, "What does this mean? Big Brother Dragon, please explain." He seems to have cultivated some special cultivation technique before. This blue dragon martial spirit has already mutated. Let me see what kind of cultivation technique is so tyrannical that it can even change the martial spirit of my blue dragon bloodline. The old dragon horse started to check Xiaochen's body. Soon, it found the purple thunder divine incantation. Then, it activated the primordial energy in Xiaochen's body and circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. How can this be? When the old dragon horse clearly saw the circulation path of the purple thunder divine incantation, he was greatly startled. The dragon claw left Xiaochen's head with a whoosh. There is actually such a cultivation technique? Who exactly created this cultivation technique? The old dragon horse was extremely shocked. To think that such a strange cultivation technique like the purple thunder divine incantation existed in the world. This was too incredible. The girl in her prime asked, "Big Brother Dragon, what exactly is this cultivation technique for you to lose your composure like this?" This cultivation technique would not be a peak cultivation technique in the outside world. In fact, it could be said to be far from it. However, it can actually dual cultivate immortal cultivation and martial cultivation, allowing the cultivator to cultivate both the martial Dao and the immortal Dao. This is a cultivation technique for improving one's physique. It is not a true cultivation technique. I really can't figure out the origins of the person who created it. Even the Big Brother Dragon horse was so shocked. That person's origins had to be very shocking. It looks like his origins are not simple. I wonder what the person who created this cultivation technique is planning. The old dragon horse immediately felt doubtful. Should he let Xiaochen refine the dragon blood? Chapter 1497. The old dragon horse's words caused everyone to enter deep thought. No one expected Xiaochen to have such a mysterious background. Everyone started hesitating over whether to refine the blue dragon martial spirit in Xiaochen's body or not. Big Brother Dragon, he is the only one left of the blue dragon bloodline. Unless he gives birth, he will not have another chance to establish a true blue dragon totem, the young girl said. The middle-aged man said, "I feel that little brother Xiaochen can be trusted, no matter what his identity is. His original intentions have always been there. He is not someone who goes back on his word. He is worth trusting." That's right. Big Brother Dragon, look at him. He chose rewards that can immediately increase his strength. He just wants to save his friends as soon as possible after he gets out. The azure-clad man also spoke up at an appropriate time to console the middle-aged man. Clearly, everyone felt that Xiaochen's blue dragon martial spirit had mutated, and that his background was extremely mysterious. However, Xiao Chen's character was still trustworthy. They should continue helping him refine the Blue Dragon martial spirit. After all, Xiao Chen was the last Blue Dragon descendant. If he gave up, perhaps the Blue Dragon bloodline would truly be finished. It would be like the many branches of the dragon race in history. I hope that I did not do wrong. The old dragon horse sighed. Its dragon claw encased Xiao Chen again, and the scarlet spiritual light entered. Bang! The spiritual light directly exploded the Blue Dragon martial spirit. Then it quickly merged into Xiao Chen's blood. Whoosh! Xiao Chen's body immediately gave off waves of multicolored light. It was like an immortal fog, filled with overwhelming spiritual energy and many colors. The silhouette of a blue dragon appeared indistinctly amid the immortal fog. A strong dragon might came from that mysterious blue dragon silhouette. Aside from the old dragon horse, the black-clad old man, the young girl, and the azure-clad man all felt immense pressure. They had no choice but to activate their dragon's might and desperately resist. Most of them were from the Blue Dragon clan. They were genuine descendants of the 7-colored divine dragons. However, at this moment, the outline of the blue dragon that appeared behind Xiao Chen made them feel an enormous pressure. This was truly too inconceivable and unbelievable. As time passed, the immortal mist became thicker and thicker. The Blue Dragon martial soul was further integrated with Xiao Chen's blood. The vast dragon might grew even stronger, giving the group a feeling that they could not block it. Roar! The old dragon horse released its claws, and the mist dispersed. A complete blue dragon image appeared behind Xiao Chen and glared at the crowd. Sung. Unable to endure it any longer, they spat out mouthfuls of blood and were sent flying. It was as though he had been struck by a heavy object, and he was in excruciating pain. The dragon image vanished, and Xiao Chen opened his eyes. A golden light flickered in the depths of his eyes. His eyes glowed with a resplendent golden light. Xiao Chen did not notice anything strange. When he saw the black-clad old man and the others flying back while vomiting blood, he asked in confusion, "Seniors, what's wrong?" The azure-clad man smiled bitterly and said, "If I said that you did all this, would you believe me?" "I did it." The old dragon horse said sullenly, "All right. Xiao Chen, scatter the great desolate divine light in your eyes first." Great desolate divine light? What is that? After a while, Xiao Chen discovered the strange state of his eyes. After trying it once, he quickly scattered the golden light in his eyes. This great desolate divine light is really resplendent. No wonder the dragon might is so intense. For a divine light of this level, the quality of his bloodline should be extremely high. The few people discussed in soft voices as they looked at Xiao Chen. However, this confused Xiao Chen. "Seniors, what is this great desolate divine light?" The old dragon horse said, "Let me explain it to you. The great desolate Aeon is second only to the primal chaos mythological era. Hence, it is also known as the secondary mythological era. Our great desolate 100 races were like gods in the entire great desolate Aeon's 10,000 races. The unique characteristic of the great desolate 100 races is the golden divine light in the eyes. This divine light is not only a symbol of status, but also has many other uses. You will come to know about this in the future. Now let me test the quality of your blue dragon bloodline." The explanation allowed Xiao Chen to understand what the great desolate divine light was. However, a new question appeared. There are differences in the quality of the blue dragon bloodline as well. That is natural. Even if one has a divine dragon bloodline, the quality of the bloodline differs. Their future accomplishments might be worlds apart. The old dragon horse led Xiao Chen to a spirit pool. Then it got Xiao Chen to drip some blood into the spirit pool. Soon, the clear spirit pool started to change color. First it turned azure. Then it quickly turned red. Azure, red, black, white, silver, gold and blue. After a total of 7 colors, the spirit pool stopped. The black-clad old man smiled and said, "The quality of a bloodline is split into 7 grades. The more colors it changes, the higher the quality. Xiao Chen, your divine dragon bloodline is the peak divine dragon bloodline." The azure-clad old man also smiled and said, "Indeed, as expected. With such a high-quality divine dragon bloodline and the inheritance, There is hope for the blue dragon race to rise again. The few people were not too surprised by the quality of Xiao Chen's bloodline. After all, the dragon might and the great desolate divine light in his eyes already revealed many suspicions. However, just at this moment, something strange happened. The ever-changing spirit pool suddenly turned purple. Adding the previous 7 colors, Xiao Chen changed into a total of 8 colors. Furthermore, the last color was purple, which no one had ever heard of before. What's going on? The 7-colored divine dragons? I have never heard of a purple dragon before. The azure-clad old man was startled, showing confusion on his face. This scene stunned the others as well, all of them looking at the old dragon horse. The old dragon horse said sullenly, "It's because of that cultivation technique. His dragon race bloodline has already mutated." The old dragon horse's expression suddenly turned extremely grave as it looked at Xiao Chen. "Xiao Chen, don't ever tell anyone about this. Otherwise, the entire great desolate 100 races will target you." Xiao Chen wanted to ask something, but the old dragon horse interrupted him. Unwilling to say more, it directly said, "Go to the inheritance hall and see if you can obtain the inheritance." Since the other party was unwilling to say more, Xiao Chen could not force it. He could only suppress the questions in his heart and follow the old dragon horse to the inheritance hall. The instant Xiao Chen entered the inheritance hall, he suddenly discovered a void under his feet. When he looked up, he saw a sky full of stars and a boundless universe. This is the inheritance hall. Is there a mistake? However, the old dragon horse and the others showed grave and respectful expressions. "Dragon Emperors of my blue dragon bloodline, today, the new master of the Blue Dragon Palace, Xiao Chen, is here to pay respects to the ancestor. Ancestor, please take a look." The old dragon horse said respectfully to the boundless starry heavens with an incredibly grave expression. Whoosh! Right after the old dragon horse spoke, pairs of cold dragon eyes suddenly appeared in the distant starry heavens. These eyes covered up all the starlight in the starry heavens. A boundless ancient aura spread out, and the many pairs of dragon eyes fixed on Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen immediately felt like he could not move at all. An invisible force held him in place. The black-clad old man and the others did not even dare to breathe loudly as they waited anxiously. If Xiao Chen could not obtain the inheritance, no matter how outstanding he was, he might end up like the Qing Emperor. As they waited anxiously, time seemed to pass by like a year. Every minute and every second felt extremely long. Whoosh! Suddenly, among the 100-odd pairs of dragon eyes in the distant starry heavens, a pair of dragon eyes suddenly turned golden. The pair of golden eyes looked like 2 blazing golden flames in the starry heavens, completely suppressing the starlight. "It's done!" The old dragon horse and the others revealed joy on their faces. This meant that the ancestor dragon emperor had taken a liking to Xiao Chen and was willing to leave the inheritance for him. Whoosh! 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 In the next moment, the many pairs of dragon eyes lit up one after another. The light in their eyes flickered brightly. They were the most resplendent stars in the starry heavens. The light flickered endlessly. The many pairs of dragon eyes seemed to be competing with each other, all wanting to pass the inheritance to Xiao Chen. The ancestor actually started fighting for Xiao Chen. This only happened during the most flourishing period of the blue dragon bloodline. The old dragon horse's voice trembled. It was so excited that it could not contain itself. This scene was simply too shocking. The old dragon horse had guarded the Blue Dragon Palace from ancient times until now. It had personally witnessed the Blue Dragon bloodline's rise from glory to its current decline. Now that it saw this scene, it felt too deeply moved. Just at this moment, something strange happened. A pair of golden eyes with scarlet flames suddenly flickered in the even more distant starry heavens. When this dragon eye appeared, the other dragon eyes that were competing with each other all vanished, retreating as if they had seen a king. The boundless starry heavens suddenly turned pitch black. Only that pair of golden eyes with scarlet flames shone brightly. Chapter 1498. Xiao Chen asked softly, "Does this count as me surpassing Prime?" The boundless starry heavens were pitch black. Only this pair of golden dragon eyes with scarlet flames could be seen. Xiaochen smiled bitterly and helplessly. Master, so be it. In any case, it is just a form of address. Intense pain spread through Xiaochen's entire body. He could not help roaring, and his long hair stood on end. When the Dragon Emperor was alive, he was known as the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor, who advocated stopping killing with killing. While the Dragon Emperor was not the strongest Dragon Emperor in history, he was definitely the most spirited and legendary. Red Snow gave Xiaochen a simple explanation, allowing Xiaochen to understand a little, although he still did not fully understand. The moment Xiaochen said that, he immediately discovered that the old dragon horse, the black-clad old man, and the others' expressions changed slightly. The dragon eyes stared at Xiaochen, who felt immense pressure. It was far from what the earlier dragon eyes could compare to. Because of the Dragon Emperor's appearance, no one dared to offend the dragon race. That was the dragon race's most glorious period. Their fame spread far and wide, shaking the world. Upon seeing Xiaochen's pale complexion and blood seeping out of his skin, Ao Jiao looked anxiously at the old dragon horse and asked, "Big brother dragon, will Xiaochen be fine?" Red Snow entered deep thought and said, "Although the strength that Master currently grasps is similar to that of a prime, in reality, they have not surpassed Emperor Wu yet. Furthermore, Master already broke through the restrictions and has a limitless future. It would not be wrong to say that he surpassed Prime. Since Xiaochen obtained the inheritance, he was already the master of the Blue Dragon Palace. However, Xiaochen had always looked down on seniority. Even if Xiaochen was a master, there was no need to bow. This pair of dragon eyes was not much different from other dragon eyes. However, there was now a scarlet flame in the depths of his eyes, causing others to tremble in fear. Strange. What's going on? Whoosh! There is a saying in the outside world. To become a god, one must first become a human. Becoming a human is becoming a true human. In the outside world, a veritable personage realm cultivator can barely be considered an expert. The Blue Dragon bloodline had been passed down for millions of years for countless epochs. There were more than 200 dragon emperors. Although there were many, they were not particularly difficult to remember. The moment Xiaochen opened his eyes, he saw the old dragon horse, the azure-clad old man, and the other Blue Dragon Palace's item spirits kneeling in salute. A strong murderous qi spread from Chen's body, making him look incredibly berserk. The lake was formed by primordial energy, but the power it contained seemed to be higher than primordial energy. Xiaochen's appearance frightened Ao Jiao. She quickly came out of the lunar shadow saber and hugged him. As Dragon Chen sang Dragon Chen, the dragon, he said. Chen's dragon Chen's Yuan said, "No, Chen and I said. When he thought of this, Xiaochen's face turned slightly pale, and he felt a wave of unprecedented nervousness. Xiaochen's 5 viscera and 6 bowels, as well as the most important part of his brain, were enveloped by a mysterious force. His injuries looked serious on the outside, but in fact, he didn't suffer any serious internal injuries. There was a loud bang. Before Xiaochen could react, the Purple Emperor's door was completely shattered. Seeing the doubt in Xiaochen's eyes, the old dragon horse said, "Red Snow, give him a simple explanation of his current situation." Hearing this, Ao Jiao quickly checked on Xiaochen's condition. It was just as the man in green had said. The old dragon horse said, "Let's not talk about this first. I'll bring you to the martial technique pavilion, the profound weapon pavilion, and the various cultivation rooms in the Blue Dragon Palace to choose some treasures." The black-clothed old man whispered, with his body's condition, he should be able to recover very quickly. No matter how hard they tried, they could not think of a dragon emperor, whose eyes were burning with bloody flames. However, the gist of it was that the Dragon Emperor relied on the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's inheritance to forcefully break through Emperor Wu's restrictions. The azure-clad man, the girl in her prime, and the others were completely stupefied before this huge pressure. When they sent their spiritual senses into their bodies, they were greatly shocked. The spot where the heart of an emperor originally was had turned into a lake of clear water, giving off a refreshing energy. The old dragon horse muttered to itself, feeling extremely excited. Only that old dragon horse's eyes brimmed with hot tears, so excited that it could not control itself. Tears flowed endlessly as if it had seen something incredible. The red-clad girl in her prime nodded with a smile. Then, she looked at Xiao Chun and said, "The Kunlun Realm's Emperor Wu's 9 heavens are known as the 9 heavens of transcending mortality outside the abandoned land. After crossing these 9 heavens, one is no longer an ordinary person, but a veritable personage." Not long after, Xiao Chun felt his head grow heavy. He opened his eyes and rubbed his acupoints vigorously. The pain was too intense. Xiao Chun did not last long before he fainted. Today, not only did Xiao Chun get dragon emperors to fight for him, but he even startled the blood-soaked dragon emperor, the strongest person in the history of the blue dragon bloodline. At this moment, the black-clad old man felt somewhat complicated. Back then, the Qing emperor was not much weaker than Xiao Chun. In some aspects, he was even stronger. However, not a single dragon emperor opened his eyes for him. It could only be said that the affairs of the world were unpredictable. The moment the black-clad old man said that, everyone else was greatly startled. The emperor's door shattered, and his heart of an emperor was destroyed. Would he be crippled? Xiao Chun quickly felt startled. He stood up and said, "Seniors, please get up. There is no need to do this." Whoosh! The mysterious dragon eyes suddenly appeared, making all the flickering golden light vanish. The azure-clad man continued with a pleasant expression. "Don't worry. Although Master Xiao Chun is currently weaker, the Dragon Emperor's inheritance knows its limits. It will automatically divert some energy to protect his vital points. That should be enough to keep him alive." Only at this point did Ao Jiao relax, and her emotions eased significantly. Xiao Chun's expression changed. What is he trying to do? Based on this unrelenting stance, it seems like he wants to shatter his purple emperor's door. The dragon horse said in a somewhat choked voice, "This is my old master, the creator of the Blue Dragon Palace, the strongest dragon emperor in the history of the Blue Dragon bloodline." "Which dragon emperor is this? My Blue Dragon bloodline has had 200 dragon emperors, but there has never been such a dragon emperor. Big brother dragon, who is this?" A great desolate divine light burst out of the dragon horse's eyes uncontrollably. The golden divine light looked like it would pierce through the sky. Then, the shock wave swept out, affecting the entire heart of an emperor. Kasie, Kai. Under the strong might of the dragon roar, the heart of an emperor could not bear the burden and shattered. Then, the dragon roar flew towards the mysterious purple emperor's door in the heart of an emperor at lightning speed. It turned into a jade-like dragon seal, and entered the heart of an emperor. Then the dragon seal shot out like a meteor. That pair of dragon eyes vanished in the void, replaced by a beam of golden light. It crossed the starry heavens in the blink of an eye and entered Xiao Chun's body. "Greetings, master." At this moment, the old dragon horse had already recovered to its normal state. It said calmly, "It's fine." He just temporarily could not endure the power of the blood-soaked dragon emperor's inheritance, and fell unconscious. However, the deeds of this dragon emperor were known by everyone in the dragon tribe. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was one of the greatest dragon emperors in the history of the dragon race. A thought occurred to Xiao Chun. Then he thought of proper business and said quickly, "There is no rush for this. I want to go outside and take a look at my big brother and the Fox King's situation first." Xiao Chun. The veritable personage realm is divided into 3 stages: the veritable essence stage, the yin essence stage, and the yang essence stage. Master is currently in the veritable essence stage. "Thank you, Master. The heavens are fair. I thought that old Master's inheritance would never appear again. The heavens are blessing my blue dragon bloodline. The heavens are truly fair." A scarlet pupil appeared in the depths of Xiao Chun's eyes amid the golden divine light. This gave this golden divine light an additional burning scarlet flame, looking extremely strange. Suddenly, Xiao Chun recalled that the blood-soaked dragon emperor's dragon seal inheritance seemed to have pierced through his emperor's door and heart of an emperor. Chapter 1499. Outside the Blue Dragon Palace, half a day had passed since Xiao Chun entered the Blue Dragon Palace. Zongtian was fighting against 3 enemies at the same time. He was already at the end of his tether. and was covered in wounds. At this moment he was lying on the ground, unable to crawl back up. His entire person was extremely weak. Among the three, apart from the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, who was more heavily injured, the heaven-punishing corpse god, and the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva were in relatively good condition. However, it consumed a lot of energy and needed some time to recover. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor flew to Ing Zongtian's side in a flash. When he saw Ing Zongtian struggling to get up, he kicked him back down. Ing Zongtian, weren't you very arrogant just now? The Dongyue Ghost Emperor gritted his teeth and said angrily. During the battle, he was the one who suffered the heaviest injuries. Ing Zongtian had even humiliated him several times, which made him rather unhappy. There were a few times when he almost found an opportunity to perish together with him. Now that the other party was finally unable to put up a fight, it was only natural for him to take revenge. So, the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and the heaven-punishing corpse god quickly arrived. When the heaven-punishing corpse god saw the Dongyue Ghost Emperor's actions, he frowned slightly and said, "Ghost Emperor, don't go overboard. The deity sovereign still wants to use him to threaten Xiaoqin." The Dongyue Ghost Emperor said calmly, "Don't worry, I won't die. I know what I'm doing." After saying that, she was about to move her legs away from Ing Zongtian. After venting his anger, although he was still displeased, he knew that the Divine Emperor's matter was of utmost importance. He could not really kill Ing Zongtian. Puchi. Ing Zongtian coughed a few times and spat out a mouthful of blood. He smiled bitterly and said, "I, Ing Zongtian, have been a wanderer all my life and have always thought highly of myself. I didn't expect to fall under your feet." The Dongyue Ghost Emperor was stunned. He moved his foot away and pressed it down again. "Who do you think you are to think so highly of yourself? When I became a supreme being, you weren't even worth a fart. Is Jizun very powerful? If I wanted to, I would have become a supreme long ago." Ing Zongtian smirked as he looked at the Dongyue Ghost Emperor with disdain. The heaven-punishing corpse god remained silent. He knew that he was no match for Ing Zongtian. If it wasn't for the fact that they were fighting 3 against 1, it would be very difficult for him to subdue the other party. Xiaoqin did not want to say anything more. He knew that back then, Ing Zongtian had been a greater heavenly emperor Wu for 1,000 years. However, he had not advanced to sovereign martial emperor, wanting to break through and surpass Prime. However, for some reason he gave up on this idea. Then, during Xiaoqin's king conferral ceremony, he suddenly appeared as a prime. "Winner takes all. Right now, I'm the one who has you under my feet. Whatever you say is useless." The Dongyue Ghost Emperor's eyes turned cold as he ruthlessly stomped on the Dongyue Ghost Emperor again. However, when the Dongyue Ghost Emperor tried to move his feet away, he discovered a pair of hands firmly grasping his feet like pincers. No matter what he did, he could not move them away. "I said it before. Even if I die, I will drag you down with me." The heart of an emperor in Ing Zongtian's body suddenly gave off a bright light. His entire body lit up like a candle, burning up quickly. Self-detonation. Xiaoqin was going to self-detonate. To think that a prime would use such a decisive method to end his own life. All of a sudden, the 3 of them were scared silly. Without even thinking, the heaven-punishing corpse god fled quickly. The fear of death overwhelmed the Dongyue Ghost Emperor, scaring him silly. Then he started shouting frantically, "Let go! Let go!" However, no matter how the heaven-punishing corpse god shouted, it was useless. Ing Zongtian held onto his feet, unwilling to let go. In the Blue Dragon Palace, Xiaoqin, who felt that something was wrong, rushed out anxiously. When he saw this scene, he was immediately startled. He cried out hoarsely, "Big brother, don't!" Based on the expressions of the old dragon horse and the others, Xiaoqin had already guessed that Ing Zongtian and the Fox King were in a bad situation. However, he had not expected to force a prime to the point of self-detonation. "Emperor Forsaken." Xiaoqin called out this person's name coldly in his heart. Then he quickly ran towards Ing Zongtian, who was about to self-detonate. However, it was already too late. Before Xiaoqin could get far, he heard a startling explosion. A blazing light soared into the sky. At the center of the explosion, the 2 died on the spot. This explosion stunned Emperor Forsaken, the heaven-punishing corpse god, and the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva. Primes were the strongest existences in the Kunlun realm. They were aloof and stood at the top of the pyramid, possessing a high status. However, such an existence actually chose to self-detonate, taking the initiative to end his own life. Xiao Chun, who was running, was caught off guard. The shock waves from the explosion sent him flying. He fell heavily to the ground and bounced far away before he stood up again. There was still a chance. Big Brother died for only 1 second. If Xiao Chun could stop the other party from self-detonating 2 seconds earlier, he could change the future. It was just like when Xiao Chun weakened Emperor Forsaken's starry heaven's divine palm. However, Xiao Chun was already dead. If he wanted to travel to the space where the dead once lived, it would be like crossing the boundary between life and death. The obstacles that Xiao Chun faced were even stronger than when he faced Emperor Forsaken. State of cycle, reversing time and space. Xiao Chun could not care so much anymore. A determined expression flashed in his eyes. The cycle heart in his sea of consciousness released a light, unleashing it without holding anything back. Xiao Chun took a step, and a huge resistance assaulted him, nearly tearing Xiao Chun to shreds. Charge. The veritable essence energy in Xiao Chun's body surged out, forming a strong sharpness in front of Xiao Chun. Infused with great Tao energy, Xiao Chun finally managed to leap out, breaking through the boundary between life and death. With only 1 second to make a move, Xiao Chun did not hesitate. The instant he appeared, he pointed. The heavenly snow divine flame poured out, directly sealing the defenseless Ing Zongtian in ice. Seeing the light on Ing Zongtian's body dim, Xiao Chun heaved a sigh of relief. Success. The time just ended. A mighty force pulled Xiao Chun's body back to the future. When Xiao Chun opened his eyes, he saw that Ing Zongtian was completely sealed in ice. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor struggled free and glanced at the ice-sealed Ing Zongtian. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor felt confused. However, in the next moment, a vicious expression flashed in his eyes. No matter what the reason was, Ing Zongtian could not move at all, sealed in the mysterious ice. This was the best opportunity to deal with him. Without even thinking, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor kicked the ice-sealed Ing Zongtian. If this kick landed, Ing Zongtian would shatter into a pile of ice on the spot, dying without a complete corpse. Stop. Xiao Chun, who had gone through a lot of trouble to use the state of cycle to save Ing Zongtian, naturally would not allow this to happen. Xiao Chun leaped into the air and threw a punch. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, Distant Legend. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor felt a cold wind behind him, and his hair stood on end. A sense of danger assaulted him. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor quickly turned around. When he saw Xiao Chun coming out, his face immediately lit up in joy. Xiao Chun, I was waiting for you. To think that you would walk right into my trap. Boom. However, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor had just finished speaking when he was sent flying by Xiao Chun's punch. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. He vomited a mouthful of blood and slid far away. How is this possible? The Dongyue Ghost Emperor was at a loss when he landed on the ground. He was heavily injured, and his strength was not even 50% of his usual strength. However, it was not difficult for him to hold back Xiao Chun with his strength. However, the reality was that Xiao Chun easily knocked him back with a punch from the air. The might of this punch was vaguely stronger than when the Dongyue Ghost Emperor was at his peak. Damn it! I don't believe it. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor could not accept this reality. He slammed his palm on the ground and soared into the air. Then he punched at Xiao Chun with a ghostly aura filling the air. This punch dyed the sky black. Xiao Chun turned around and circulated his quintessential energy in front of his chest, using his body to receive the Dongyue Ghost Emperor's punch. Buzz! It was as if the punch had landed on a metal mountain. It was stable and did not move at all. The Dongyue Ghost Emperor's face darkened, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. He wanted to retreat. Swoosh! But in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, a hand appeared like a lightning dragon that broke through the clouds in the dark night. It grabbed his neck and lifted him up. Xiao Chun let him go. At this moment, Emperor Forsaken and the other two brought the restrained the Fox King over. Chapter 1500. Although the Dongyue Ghost Emperor was captured, Qitian revealed a smile on his face. This was because Xiaochen finally came out. Not only did Xiaochen come out, but he also used up the power of the state of cycle. He would not have to worry about that move for a while. Xiaochen narrowed his eyes and looked at Emperor Forsaken and the other two. Qitian, what are you trying to do? Are you crazy? In Xiaochen's opinion, Qitian was really crazy. To think that he dared to fall out with a prime. If Qitian was not careful, he would end up burying a huge problem for himself, implicating two primes as enemies. Although Emperor Forsaken was strong, he could not stop others from sneak attacking the other members of the deity race. Qitian said indifferently, "Cut the crap. Tell me all the secrets of the Blue Dragon Palace Hall. Return all the benefits you obtained in there as well. Otherwise, even if you can save Zongtian for now, you will not be able to save him forever. Oh right. There is also this. I believe you will not watch as your senior Fiend King dies, right?" Emperor Forsaken said fearlessly as he stretched out his hand and lifted up the Fox King. In order to prevent the Fox King from self-destructing, Emperor Forsaken did not hesitate. After Emperor Forsaken defeated Xiaochen, he immediately sealed all of Xiaochen's strength. However, Emperor Forsaken was not in a good state either. The Fox King's counterattack was not that easy to deal with. However, it did not matter. Emperor Forsaken was in control of the situation. Given Xiaochen's character, it was impossible for him to ignore his senior and big brother. This was Xiaochen's Achilles heel. Xiaochen's heart sank. He did not expect Emperor Forsaken to have such an idea. He was truly crazy. For an illusory goal, Emperor Forsaken actually used such a despicable method. The so-called number one person of the Kunlun realm was truly shameless. Interesting. Truly interesting. Xiaochen smiled coldly in his heart. His killing intent was like magma in the ground, slowly settling. Ever since the coronation ceremony, Emperor Forsaken had been looking for trouble. Whoosh. You are overthinking. It is useless even if you know the secret of the Blue Dragon Palace. I can't give you the benefits that I obtained. Most importantly, the corner of Xiaochen's mouth curled into a cold smile as he looked at the three of them. His cold eyes did not contain any emotion. What is it? Emperor Forsaken's heart skipped a beat. He obviously didn't believe it. We'll talk after I finish killing them. Everything else was fine, but the Dongyue Ghost Emperor who almost killed Big Brothering had to die. Gotcha. With a wave of his left hand, a saber light flashed, and the Dongyue Ghost Emperor's head flew into the air. Carrying the Dongyue Ghost Emperor's headless body, Xiaochen tossed it away as if it was a piece of trash. With a loud explosion, the Dongyue Ghost Emperor's head exploded into a splatter of blood and disappeared. Dead, the prime of the Ghost Domain, a Ghost Emperor, died at Xiaochen's hands. You, the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva, the heaven-punishing corpse god, and Emperor Forsaken were stunned. They did not expect Xiaochen to be so ruthless. A prime's head would not die after it was chopped off, but it had to be reattached. Without a head, a headless body was naturally as dead as it could be. Whoosh. Countless motes of light scattered from the headless body. Those were the Dongyue Ghost Emperor's life essence. The place fell silent. The three primes were truly dumbfounded. Xiaochen, do you know what you did? The heaven-punishing corpse god pointed at Xiaochen, his voice trembling slightly. I know. I killed a dog. Do you really think that you are unrivaled? The heaven-punishing corpse god roared and clenched his fist. 10,000 dragon force instantly burst forth. The heaven-punishing corpse god's punch arrived before Xiaochen. Xiaochen did not show any fear. He circulated his veritable essence energy, and an aura that surpassed that of a prime burst out from his body. Then he clenched his right fist and infused his veritable essence energy into it. Boom. An intense explosion resounded, and a strong wind blew. Xiaochen's long hair and clothes fluttered loudly. Xiaochen forcefully received this punch, not moving an inch, not taking a single step back. Corroborating the Tao with the physical body, you are only S as O. Xiaochen smiled coldly as he infused his great Tao energy into his punch. A Tao disc appeared behind him. As he stood there, he looked like a treasured saber drawn from its scabbard. Boundlessly resplendent, radiating resplendent light, His fist was the saber that he sealed. Initially, they were evenly matched. After infusing his great Tao energy, Xiaochun pushed forward and sent the heaven-punishing corpse god flying. The white-robed Xiaochun, whose long hair fluttered in the wind, still did not take even half a step back. Surpassing Prime? A complicated expression flashed in Emperor Forsaken's eyes as he muttered to himself. It turns out that the Blue Dragon Palace really does contain the secret to breaking through to Prime. The energy that Xiaochun used clearly came from primordial energy. However, it was one level higher than primordial energy. Given Xiaochun's insight, he definitely did not see wrong. Only at this moment did the three understand that the Dongyue Ghost Emperor did not die in vain. Attack together later. Do not show any mercy. We cannot be careless at all. Emperor Forsaken sent a voice projection to the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva and the heaven-punishing corpse god. A strange look flashed in the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva's eyes. It seemed like he had other plans. However, after thinking for a while, he agreed to Emperor Forsaken's suggestion. As for the heaven-punishing corpse god, he had just been sent flying by Xiaochun's palm strike and suffered. How could he have any thoughts of refusing? Emperor Forsaken said, "You have indeed broken through the shackles of a prime. We can have a proper discussion. As long as you are willing to tell me the secret, I can immediately release the Fox King." Xiaochun shook his head and said, "You are overthinking. I said that we can have a discussion. If you apologize to me immediately and release the Spirit Fox King, I can consider letting you go after some consideration." Haha. Emperor Forsaken guffawed as if he had heard something funny. He said coldly, "You are really boundlessly arrogant. Attack." The three immediately unleashed their killing chi without hiding it. Emperor Forsaken's body glowed with a resplendent holy light. Then he soared into the sky and formed a holy sword, chopping down at Xiaochun. The Kitagarbha Bodhisattva revealed his huge dharmic true body. A Buddhist hand covered half the sky, carrying a supreme Buddhist might as it smashed down at Xiaochun. The heaven-punishing corpse god secretly stored up power, waiting for Xiaochun to clash with the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva before giving him a peak strike. Xiaochun coldly watched the three's actions. 3 black petals spun in the depths of his eyes and layered over each other. Before Emperor Forsaken, who had just condensed a holy light sword, could react, the holy light sword broke. Bolts of electric light shot out from Emperor Forsaken's body. Wounds covered his body, and he vomited a mouthful of blood as he went flying. The divine lightning. I only needed one glance to send down a lightning tribulation, deciding life and death. 3 lightning tribulations layered over each other. Even a prime would be severely injured. Dharmic world. After sending Emperor Forsaken flying with one glance, Xiaochun's body trembled and became incredibly huge, matching the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva's dharmic world. The Buddha's hand, which had covered half the sky, now looked mediocre. He lifted his foot. Xiaochun raised his leg and kicked the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva's dharmic body away at lightning speed. The Buddhist light that filled the sky overflowed in all directions, scattering everywhere. Die. The heaven-punishing corpse god held his breath. The instant Xiaochun recovered his true form, his body shot forward like a sharp arrow. Then he unleashed his peak strike. The heaven-punishing corpse god used his physical body to substantiate his Tao. If this punch landed on Xiaochun, he would be severely injured, even if Xiaochun was prepared. When the heaven-punishing corpse god punched, space trembled, and Xiaochun directly shattered. The heaven-punishing corpse god smiled. However, after a while, wind suddenly whistled behind him. He immediately felt that something was wrong and quickly turned around. Whoosh! However, it was too late. The instant the heaven-punishing corpse god turned around, a saber light appeared. The transcendent divine weapon, the lunar shadow saber, executed the dragon-subduing slash, and struck the heaven-punishing corpse god's chest. An arrow of blood spurted out of the heaven-punishing corpse god's chest. Even though his physical body had never been broken before, Xiaochun flapped his blue dragon divine wings and hovered in the air. As he held up the lunar shadow saber, he looked coldly at the 3 people who were instantly knocked back. Xiaochun's body exuded a tyrannical air that looked down on the world, aloof, cold, and emotionless. The blue dragon divine wings on Xiaoqin's back flapped, and a boundless strong wind scattered the clouds for 5,000 kilometers around. Then he appeared before Emperor Forsaken as if he teleported. Xiaoqin pointed his saber at Emperor Forsaken's forehead. Congratulations on becoming the strongest person in the Kunlun realm. From today on, you will sweep through the world unrivaled. Emperor Forsaken paled as he revealed a bitter smile. I already thought of the consequences of failure long ago. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Do as you please. Strongest in the Kunlun realm? You are overthinking. I have never treated you as a goal to chase after. Chapter 1501. A bright light flickered in Zongtian's eyes as he said excitedly. As soon as he finished speaking, the 5 figures disappeared into the sky, leaving a shadow in Xiaoqin's heart. In the distance, some extremely terrifying battle seemed to be taking place. Just then, the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva took advantage of the moment the two were talking to turn into a beam of light and flee. Xiaoqin recalled that when he broke through to Martial Monarch, the energy he grasped was also known as quintessence. From then on, Xiaoqin no longer saw Emperor Forsaken as a goal, no matter how he looked at it. Sooner or later, Xiaoqin would surpass his opponent. It was just a matter of time. One had unlimited potential, while the other had exhausted his potential. Emperor Forsaken was straightforward and didn't hide anything. In fact, he was not wrong. Just as he had guessed, the Blue Dragon Palace did contain the secret to breaking through to the supremacy stage. However, it was not prepared for him, but for Xiaoqin. The 5 phantoms were the top experts of the various clans that guarded Kunlun Mountain. Apart from guarding Kunlun Mountain, they did not interfere in any worldly battles. In order to become a god, one had to first become a human. He knew that from now on he could only look up to Xiaoqin, and there was no possibility of surpassing him. Letting him go was a sign of Xiaoqin's confidence in his own strength. It was also a form of wisdom. He didn't want to push him too hard. The heaven-abandoning deity sovereign stood up and bowed with a cupped fist salute. That day, after Xiaoqin transcended the heavenly tribulation, he showed up once. When Xiaoqin broke free from Emperor Wu's restraints and became a perfected being, he grasped the power of true essence. The power of veritable essence energy was already comparable to the power grasped by many primes. Xiaoqin scattered the blue dragon divine wings and sheathed his saber. He said sullenly, "Why did you not summon the deity race old ancestor? If you summoned the deity race old ancestor, it would be sufficient to defeat me." In an instant, he had defeated 3 supreme beings and forced Emperor Forsaken to lower his head and apologize. Emperor Forsaken was a little absent-minded. From me as a target? That's right. I was originally a failure who did not even dare to walk the Kunlun road. Xiaoqin immediately withdrew the heavenly snow divine flame and removed Zongtian from his frozen state. There were 3 primes overseeing the heavenly starry ocean. Could there be any major trouble? Go take a look for yourself and you'll know. There's no need to say anything else. Life was unpredictable. No one knew what would happen in the future. What's going on? What happened in the heavenly starry ocean? Even a battle between primes should not have such a terrifying aura. A simple comparison could easily be made. Xiaoqin nodded. You can say that. This time it's really been hard on the 2 seniors. Yes. In the Battle of the Blue Dragon Palace, the deity Dao Union suffered heavy casualties, losing a prime. Emperor Forsaken completely gave up, and did not want to say anything more. After releasing the Fox King's restraints, he left with the heaven-punishing corpse god. Furthermore, Xiaoqin's great Dao energy and state of cycle were just superficial. However, in the blink of an eye, Emperor Forsaken felt speechless bitterness and a strange heartache. Ha 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 ha. Good. 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 Back then, for the sake of protecting him, I gave up on accumulations and broke through to Prime. The facts prove that my choice was not wrong. There really is a peak above Prime. Surpassing the heaven-abandoning deity sovereign was something that happened naturally. It was not hard to understand. Zongtian could not help feeling excited. He was right. He had waited 10 years for this day. The 2 could not be mentioned in the same breath. Although Xiaochen kept thinking about the matter of the heavenly starry ocean, he still had to treat Big Brother Ying's injuries first. His tone was cold. Clearly, he hated the Dongyue Ghost Emperor to the bone. If he did not kill him, he would not be able to vent this hatred. Xiaochen's heart immediately sank. Either these 5 did not show themselves, or when they did, something major had happened. Haotian, don't be agitated. You just recovered, the Fox King advised. That was the direction of the heavenly starry ocean. The Fox King smiled and said, he is not dead. He is still alive and well. After Xiaochen left the palace, he defeated the heaven-punishing corpse god, the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva, an emperor forsaken by himself. Whoosh! 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 Xiaochen narrowed his eyes, wanting to give chase. He could let go of Emperor Forsaken, but he absolutely could not let go of the Kitagarbha Bodhisattva. He wondered what the situation of the martial epic and the great thousand realms outside was like. Many thanks. There is no need to give chase, Blue Dragon King. You should return to the heavenly starry ocean first. After a fortuitous encounter in the Blue Dragon Palace, I finally made a breakthrough. What about the Dongyue Ghost Emperor? Ing Zongtian asked with a somewhat cold expression when he suddenly thought of this person. It is not that I do not want to, but that I cannot. The price of summoning the deity race ancestor is much higher than you think. Even if I summon him out, I might not be able to kill you. However, I will definitely not be far from death. In less than 2 months, Xiaochen would have to turn around. He still needed the other party to show mercy before he could leave. Then he would circulate his veritable essence energy and infuse it into the other party's body. After all, Xiaochen could still summon the deity race ancestor and still have some combat prowess. If he pushed too hard, he would end up in a life and death struggle. The Fox King smiled and said, "It's fine. You being able to break through to Prime is what the Haotian and I hope to see the most. Let's not talk about this for now. Quickly treat the Haotian's injuries." Seniors, what's going on with the heavenly starry ocean? There's no need. You should be thanking yourself. My big brother Ing and the Fox King are not dead. Otherwise, even if I have to fight to the end, I will take your life. Furthermore, with the support of Great Tao energy, he might even be stronger than the other party. You may go. From today on, our grudges are written off. Xiaochen looked indifferently at Emperor Forsaken. Then, he said something that shocked Emperor Forsaken. This thought flashed by quickly. When Ing Zongtian slowly opened his eyes, Xiaochen's thoughts immediately returned to reality. When Ing Zongtian heard that, he laughed loudly, saying good 3 times in a row. His bold laughter contained unconcealable joy and excitement. Ing Zongtian waved his hand and smiled. Brother Spirit Fox, you don't understand. It has been 10 years. I have waited for this day for too long. To be able to live and see you surpass Prime is my greatest hope in this life. The Spirit Fox King thought about how, as a Prime, he could still send Xiaochen flying with 3 palm strikes 2 months ago. I've already killed him. As the Spirit Fox King looked at Xiaochen, who held his saber and pressed the tip of the saber against his forehead, he listened to what the Spirit Fox King said. That was why the difference in strength was so huge. On Heavenly Star Island, Ing Zongtian had already told Xiaochen that the gap between him and Emperor Forsaken was not large. These cold words stunned Emperor Forsaken. He believed that since Xiaochen said that, he would definitely do it. An aura that inspired fear appeared in the 3's hearts. The expressions of Xiaochen and the other 2 immediately changed. I'm not dead? The deity race ancestor grasped a strength that surpassed Prime. He was even stronger than the current Xiaochen. At the crucial moment, the deity race ancestor nearly died, unable to see Xiaochen, who surpassed Prime. Ing Zongtian felt an incredible headache. His memories turned blurry for a moment, and he could not clearly remember what happened. Ing Zongtian entered deep thought. Xiaochen, you should go back quickly. There is probably a huge change in the heavenly starry ocean. I also need to reorganize the forces of the Bushan Palace. Even the heavenly Tao would not allow such an existence to appear. Furthermore, Xiaochen had only barely touched the bottom line of the heavenly Tao. The Fox King muttered to himself, frowning heavily. When Ing Zongtian heard that, he was stunned. Then he nodded and said, "Good kill. Such a vile person is not worthy of being a prime. The cyclic astral lord, the bright moon empress, the myriad law fiend master, could it be? Thinking of a certain existence, Xiaochen did not dare to think further. However, just at this moment, 5 figures suddenly appeared in the air, blocking Xiaochen's path. You broke through. Xiaochen also had 1,000 strands of primordial energy. However, the other party's power of faith and state of holy light had already reached great heights, already cultivated to the peak. Suddenly, scarlet spiritual light appeared in the distant western sky. The scarlet color was so dense that it was even more brilliant than the setting sun. Xiaochen, you really broke through to prime? The Fox King watched from start to finish in disbelief, feeling like he was dreaming. Chapter 1502. Due to the changes in the heavenly starry ocean, Xiaochen had to make a trip back. However, before that, he still had some things to do. Big brother, you go to Bushan Palace first. I still have to return to the Blue Dragon Palace. Xiaochen had come out of the Blue Dragon Palace in too much of a rush. There were many things that he had not dealt with yet. Since Xiaochen was fine now, he had to make a trip back. Zongtian nodded and immediately left. Although he was injured, as long as he appeared in Bushan Palace alive, he would be able to use the fame of a prime to suppress the 3 holy masters. Then, he would be able to gather all the power of the Bushan Palace and use the prestige of a prime to suppress the 3 holy masters. The Fox King performed a cupped fist salute and left as well. The heavenly starry ocean was undergoing a huge change. The entire Kunlun realm would probably descend into chaos. The Fiend Domain also needed him to hold down the fort. When Xiaochen entered the Blue Dragon Palace, the old dragon horse and the other item spirits had been waiting for a long time. Sorry, don't blame us for hiding it from you. If we did not, you would not have been able to clear the road of trials, the old dragon horse said. Everyone had their own standpoint. From different positions, they saw things differently. Xiaochen could understand that the other party was doing this for his own good. What he said was true. The more important thing was that Zongtian and the Fox King were both fortunate and fine. Naturally, Xiaochen would not blame these people. I understand. I want to retrieve the Heavenly Flame's origin flame. Furthermore, I would like to move the Blue Dragon Palace to Heavenly Star Island. I wonder if the seniors can do that. The Blue Dragon Palace itself was a supreme treasure. With the Blue Dragon Palace guarding Heavenly Star Island, the Dragon's Gate should not have to worry. The old dragon horse hesitated for a while before saying, "Everything in the Blue Dragon Palace is yours now. Naturally, you can get the Heavenly Flame's origin flame. However, moving the Blue Dragon Palace to Heavenly Star Island is rather difficult. With your current strength, you are not able to refine the Blue Dragon Palace yet. Do your best to help me think of a way. Please," Xiaochen said with a cupped fist salute. "Why don't we carry it back with our bare hands? Since we can't refine it, we can only use this stupid method. It's just that it will be a bit tiring," the azure-clothed man suddenly said with a smile. The old dragon horse was stunned for a while before saying, "That is also a solution. The 5 elements absolute ceiling formation can be moved away?" Of course, the core of the 5-element absolute ceiling formation has always been the Blue Dragon Hall. Furthermore, the Blue Dragon Hall wasn't here in the past. The matter of the Blue Dragon Palace moving back to the Dragon's Gate was settled. The black-clad old man took out the purple crystal containing the Heavenly Flame's origin and handed it to Xiaochen. After Xiaochen put it away, he discovered that the old dragon horse was looking at him with a grave expression. It seemed like it had something to say, but was hesitant. "Old senior, do you have any instructions?" "Forget it, I don't need it for now. You go do what you need to do. After you have calmed down for a while, I will tell you some things, as well as some duties that the master of the Blue Dragon Palace needs to fulfill." Xiaochen nodded thoughtfully to show that he understood. It was impossible for there to be only benefits and no duties in the world. Xiaochen obtained the inheritance and broke the restrictions. These were all benefits. However, the duties that he needed to fulfill were not clear. However, Xiaochen could not rush it. since the old dragon horse did not say, he was too embarrassed to ask. Furthermore, this was not the time to be conflicted about this. After leaving the Blue Dragon Palace, Xiaochen walked around the walls. After he found a suitable angle, he grabbed it with both hands and pulled hard. Rumble. The Blue Dragon Palace was uprooted like a huge tree. Xiaochen felt incredibly tired, like he was hugging a mountain. However, no matter how tired he was, he had to do it. This was a treasure even more valuable than a mountain of gold. Holding the bottom of the Blue Dragon Palace with one hand, Xiaochen clenched his teeth. Vital qi surged in his body, gushing endlessly like a great river. 1,000 dragons danced wildly behind him, and streams of dragon-shaped energy flew everywhere. With 1,000 dragon force, Xiaochen roared and finally lifted the entire Blue Dragon Palace. Then he soared into the air and quickly flew in the direction of the heavenly starry ocean. Along the way, the people who saw this scene were all stunned. This was simply a spectacle. Xiaochen actually moved the entire Blue Dragon Palace away. It looked simple, like one could move the entire Blue Dragon Palace with just a little bit of strength. However, in this world, only Xiaochen had the ability to do so. If it were anyone else, as long as the old dragon horse was unwilling, they would not be able to do so. Even the heaven-punishing corpse god, who cultivated his physical body to the Tao, could not get close to the Blue Dragon Palace, much less lift it up. Xiaochen worried about the situation of the heavenly starry ocean and the safety of the Dragon's Gate's people. Although it was tiring, Xiaochen did not dare to relax for even a moment. He directly unfurled the Blue Dragon divine wings and continuously flapped them, exhausting his veritable essence energy. Everywhere he passed, strong winds blew, like a 5,000-kilometer-long sword tearing a long passageway through the clouds. Relying on the Blue Dragon divine wings and his veritable essence energy, Xiaochen finally arrived at the edge of the sea after half a day. When he got closer, he could see the scarlet spiritual clouds in the heavenly starry ocean even more clearly. Those scarlet spiritual clouds were not formed of baleful qi. Blood symbolized inauspiciousness and massacre. However, apart from killing intent, the blood-colored spiritual clouds also contained pure spiritual energy. This was exceptionally eye-catching in the dense scarlet clouds. This also confused Xiaochen. What exactly is going on? I left a messaging talisman with Mo Chun. Once something happens, she will contact me. There has been no news from the messaging talisman. Could something have happened to Mo Chun? With this thought, Xiaochen became even more anxious. The Blue Dragon divine wings on his back flapped even more ferociously. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just at this moment, many figures leaped out of the sea in a fluster. Xiaochen, who was holding up the Blue Dragon Palace, could clearly see that these were the merfolk race of the chaotic demonic sea. Quick look. That is the Blue Dragon King, Xiaochen. Quickly informed the Empress. The merfolk race immediately discovered Xiaochen's village chief. Soon, they saw the merfolk race's Empress Yao Yin rushing over, escorted by a group of merfolk race upper echelon. Then, she gave instructions to the others to lead the merfolk race ashore and continue their journey. Sorry, I am holding up the Blue Dragon Palace and cannot greet you. Tell me what happened in the heavenly starry ocean, and what is going on with you all? Seeing Yao Yin walking over alone, Xiaochen asked anxiously with a helpless expression while holding up the Blue Dragon Palace. Yao Yin looked at the strenuous Xiaochen and said, "This is the Blue Dragon Palace? It looks like you already went in. Perhaps the heavenly starry ocean can still be saved." Xiaochen's expression changed. He demanded sullenly, "Tell me what happened." Yao Yin let out a long sigh and said, "Everything is over. Now, aside from Zodiac Hall, Bright Moon City, and Myriad Fiend Island, all the other factions and sects of the heavenly starry ocean have been destroyed. This is simply the end of the world." What exactly happened? You know about the sea market controlled by the Treasure Master, right? Originally, everyone thought that those huge immortal statues were just decorations. However, now they actually all came to life. 18 immortal statues swept through the place. No one could stop them. The Heavenly Province Academy, the Five Poison Sect, and the Yin Yang Paradise were the first to be destroyed. The 5 poison sects churchmaster did not even have time to flee before the immortal statues crushed him into a meat patty. Yao Yan's expression remained calm, not showing any crazed expression. However, her words sounded like a fantasy story, too shocking. Xiaochen forced out a smile and said, "You must be lying to me. How could the dead immortals come back to life?" "I'm not lying to you. Soon, this calamity will sweep through the entire oceanic world. At that time, not a single place will be safe." This, Xiaochen remembered that the myriad law fiend master once told him that there was a hidden danger in the heavenly starry ocean. Once it happened, it would be the end of the world. No one would be able to stop it. At that time, Xiaochen did not believe it. Unexpectedly, it became a reality in less than 2 months. Xiaochen remembered that the myriad law fiend master told him to cherish the peaceful days he had now. Unexpectedly, the myriad law fiend master's words hit the mark. The 2 months of peace really became the calm before the storm. "How's the Dragon's Gate? What's the situation at Heavenly Star Island?" Xiaochen reacted, his expression changing wildly. He did not even have time to send a message. Could the Dragon's Gate have been surrounded by the immortal statues and instantly destroyed? Immediately, Xiaochen felt somewhat startled. He really did not want the blood-clad sect to hold the Dragon's Gate hostage to happen again. "I'm not sure. After I received the news, I started preparing for the migration of the merfolk race. The chaotic demonic sea will not be peaceful for long. I need to get my people to leave the oceanic world as soon as possible." Yao Yan revealed an apologetic expression, showing fatigue and helplessness. Some despair also appeared in the depths of her eyes. Chapter 1503. Take care. "I'll be leaving first," Yao Yan said softly with a fatigued expression. Xiaochen asked, "Where are you going?" "Kunlun Mountain is the safest place in the entire Kunlun realm." That place was indeed the safest place in the entire Kunlun realm. Several of the demonic calamities had taken refuge in Kunlun Mountain. However, this time there might not be a safe place in the entire Kunlun realm. "Take care." Xiaochen sent off Yao Yan with his eyes, feeling somewhat heavy. He had only been gone for a few days, and such a huge change happened in the heavenly starry ocean. Could this have something to do with his trip to the Blue Dragon Palace? The more Xiaochen thought about it, the more likely it seemed. The trip to the Blue Dragon Palace had delayed half the Kunlun realm's primes, resulting in injuries and deaths. If not for Xiaochen specifically instructing the cyclic astral lord and the other primes not to go, the entire heavenly starry ocean would have fallen already. "Never mind, I'll go to Heavenly Star Island first. Right now, the most important thing is to ensure the Dragon's Gate's safety." After verifying the direction, Xiaochen ferociously flapped the blue dragon divine wings. Then he leaped 50 kilometers, moving like a strong wind and lightning, like the legendary Great Rock. Whoosh! The moment Xiaochen entered the oceanic world, something strange happened. The pressure on Xiaochen, who was holding up the Blue Dragon Palace, suddenly increased explosively. That aura, which initially only made him feel some fear, seemed to be everywhere. Now that he entered the oceanic world, this aura seemed to be everywhere, spreading and encasing the entire oceanic world. Boom! Xiaochen's entire body fell to the surface of the sea. Whoosh! Immediately, 10-odd waves soared into the sky. After Xiaochen landed, it became much more difficult to fly again. If he put down the Blue Dragon Palace, he could continue flying. However, that would be pointless. Xiaochen had put in so much effort to move the Blue Dragon Palace to the Dragon's Gate. So be it. With my speed, even if I run at full speed, I might not be much slower. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen raised the Blue Dragon Palace and continued running on the sea. As he ventured deeper into the ocean world, the pressure on his body increased bit by bit. Everywhere he passed, he saw even more oceanic powers that were migrating and fleeing. Most of them were extremely panicked, and they'd given up on sects that had existed for hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. Even an immortal sacred ground like the Heavenly Province Academy was annihilated. How could these factions dare to remain in the oceanic world? If they did, they would not be able to leave even if they wanted to. Occasionally, Xiaochen asked some people about the heavenly starry ocean and the Dragon's Gate. These people had a rough understanding of the heavenly starry ocean. However, they did not know anything about the Dragon's Gate. When several people heard that Xiaochen was going to the heavenly starry ocean, their expressions changed slightly. The heavenly starry ocean has already turned into hell on earth. The immortal statues are killing machines. Wherever he goes, blood flows like a river. With a single stomp, he can easily slaughter the people of an entire city. Yes, my friend escaped from there. The entire sky was blood red. I don't see any life force. Furthermore, the Treasure Master's residence's people are still capturing people everywhere. It's a tragic sight. Even the Holy Land with the 3 primes will not be able to last for long. The news that Xiaochen obtained was depressing. Some martial emperors were even frightened out of their wits. However, Xiaochen had to go to the heavenly starry ocean. Xiaochen increased his speed and continued forward. After half a day, he finally arrived at the edge of the heavenly starry ocean. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Seabirds blotted out the sky and sun above, forming a flock as they left. All sorts of ferocious beasts rode the wind and broke the waves on the surface of the sea. These sea beasts were all leaving the heavenly starry ocean. Xiaochen frowned slightly. The hearts of the people were separated, and the birds and beasts were startled. What exactly was the situation in the heavenly starry ocean? Along the way, many cultivators lost all will to resist. They only cared about fleeing, losing all courage. Are the enemies really that strong? Heavenly starry ocean, let me see what exactly is going on. With a trace of stubbornness, Xiaochen held up the Blue Dragon Palace and faced the boundless tide as he swam against the current. The Blue Dragon Palace that Xiaochen held up exuded a strong dragon might. The ferocious sea beasts did not dare to seek trouble for him at all. He was like a sharp sword swinging over, and countless ferocious beasts took the initiative to separate. The moment Xiaochen stepped into the heavenly starry ocean, an unpleasant stench of blood mixed with the smell of seawater assaulted his nose. When Xiaochen looked around, the islands at the periphery were empty. Everyone had already fled long ago. Rumble. The sounds of intense fighting could be heard in the sky. In the distant sky, light burst out, and the sky seemed to tear apart, sending down countless beams of starlight. Xiaochen could vaguely see a huge silhouette. Even from tens of thousands of kilometers away, he felt a strong might and pressure. That was in the direction of the Zodiac Hall. The ones fighting should be the cyclic astral lord and some immortal statues. Xiaochen withdrew his gaze and did not say anything. He showed a sullen expression as the blue dragon divine wings on his back unfurled once more. Enduring the huge pressure, the wings flapped ferociously, and Xiaochen soared into the air again. At this point, Xiaochen already felt exceptionally anxious. Even if he had to exhaust his veritable essence energy, he had to rush to Heavenly Star Island. A strong wind blew for 500,000 kilometers, and Xiaochen moved like a meteor tearing through the sky. The wind blew past his ears, and his hair and clothes fluttered wildly. Xiaochen casually swept his gaze around. Many of the islands below had fiery lights soaring into the sky. Many of the Treasure Master's residence's cultivators were in the rubble, capturing people everywhere. Their methods were cruel and crude, placing people into cages as if they were livestock. There were too many of them. Even if Xiaochen wanted to save them, he could not. The Treasure Master's people did not kill these people on the spot. Instead, they captured them. This made Xiaochen think of a phrase, blood sacrifice. When making sacrifices to the demonic god, it required a large amount of fresh blood and souls of living people. Could the Treasure Master's residence really have something to do with the deep abyss demonic world? There was no time to think. As Xiaochen quickly advanced, Heavenly Star Island finally appeared at the limits of his vision. Unexpectedly, this sea region was completely silent. There was no smell of blood in the air either. Whoosh! Xiaochen landed on the surface of the sea and looked around suspiciously. The intense battle that he expected did not happen. There was no bloody scene either. The Dragon's Gate? When Xiaochen looked up, he executed his heavenly eye. Whoosh! The heavenly eye turned into a diamond-shaped beam of light that shot out. After traveling 500 kilometers, it hovered in the sky. The diamond-shaped beam of light was like a divine eye. It clearly saw everything below, down to the finest detail. Xiao Chen narrowed his gaze and looked in the direction of Heavenly Star Island, squinting. Mo Chen and the Dragon's Gate's people on the city walls showed anxious expressions. However, they were all there. It's fine. The Dragon's Gate's people are fine. Xiao Chen withdrew his heavenly eye. Wild joy appeared in his heart as he rushed towards Heavenly Star Island. Bang! 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 Xiao Chen gently pushed off with his feet. With every step he took, he moved with great force, kicking up boundless waves that soared into the sky. Even from a distance, he could see them. After about 7 minutes, Mo Chen and the others on the city gates discovered a palace hall flying over from the sea. That is, the Blue Dragon Palace. Mo Chen's eyes were very sharp. She had read a lot of books. She could recognize the palace hall's origins from its rough outline. Miss Mo, there seems to be someone under the palace hall. Soon, someone on the city gate saw this strange scene. Mo Chen showed a startled expression as she said, "It's Big Brother Xiao. Quickly get him to stop. Don't continue." The others all cried out like they were startled awake from a dream. They did not show any excitement or joy when they saw Xiao Chen. Instead, their eyes filled with worry. As they were too far away, Xiao Chen could not hear them clearly. When he heard them clearly, he discovered another person in front. It was the young treasure master. Yiling crossed his arms and revealed a smile on his face. He said indifferently, "Blue Dragon King, long time no see." Xiao Chen looked around. When he saw that there was no one around, he immediately felt wary. "There's no need to look. It's just me. Not bad. You even moved the Blue Dragon Palace back. You must be thinking of putting it on Heavenly Star Island, right?" Yiling said with a fake smile, showing a mocking expression. "Unfortunately, there is no such chance." Behind him, the statue of an immortal slowly poked its head out of the sea, rising higher and higher. Soon, it surpassed the height of the Blue Dragon Palace and cast a huge shadow over Xiao Chen, encasing him completely. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was sharp. He sensed another immortal statue slowly emerging behind him. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.